Chapter 10:12 The Ultimate Master and Disciple 4. Ruhua replied obediently. All right, I'll go back to sleep. There's still a competition tomorrow. Senior brother Xiaoyu will come and watch my competition, right? Of course I'm going, Lung Xiaoyu said perfunctorily, but he couldn't help but feel uneasy. Even if I go, I won't be rooting for you. With that, Lung Xiaoyu could not be bothered with Ruhua anymore and strode towards Mo Yan's residence. As soon as she reached the door, Lung Xiaoyu bumped into Mo Yan and Ru Feng. Speak of the devil. Lu Feng chuckled and teased. Master, Sir Lu Feng. Lung Xiaoyu greeted them politely. Xiaoyu, why are you here so late? Mo Yan asked curiously. He was about to send Lu Feng out when he unexpectedly saw his beloved disciple. Master, I heard that I'm getting married? Lung Xiaoyu asked directly. Who did you hear that from? Mo Yan said speechlessly. How did this matter reach the ears of his precious disciple? Ruhua told me. She said that we're getting married. Lung Xiaoyu betrayed Ruhua without hesitation and told the truth. Please keep reading on MYB Zero's novel. This pair of master and disciple are really impatient. Lu Feng said with a wicked smile. Xiaoyu, don't listen to her nonsense. Inrume came to look for me, but I didn't agree, Mo Yan explained helplessly. I know that master definitely won't answer. Lung Xiaoyu was relieved. Then why did you come to ask me? Brat, you clearly don't trust me. Mo Yan said aggrievedly. Master, you can't be so petty. I'm just here to confirm it. Otherwise, I'll die of depression. Lung Xiaoyu was also very aggrieved. He was almost married off. Xiaoyu, what did Ruhua tell you? Lu Feng asked curiously. She said that we were going to get married soon, so she was so excited that she couldn't sleep and asked me to chat with her, Lung Xiaoyu said speechlessly. After living for so many years, he had seen many women, but he had never met such a top-notch woman. She hasn't even gotten married yet. Isn't she being too impatient to tell you? Lu Feng couldn't help but laugh wildly. What's so funny? Lung Xiaoyu rolled her eyes and thought to herself, you'll meet such a woman sooner or later. Are you done laughing? Mo Yan was a little dissatisfied with the laughing Lu Feng. Damn it, how dare he laugh at his disciple? If the two of them weren't friends, he would have beaten him up long ago. All right, I won't laugh. Lu Feng was a little afraid. Well, he was still very afraid of Mo Yan's anger. Xiaoyu, it's fine. Don't worry. Master won't betray your happiness. It's getting late. Go back and sleep. Mo Yan comforted her. Yes, Master, Sir Lu Feng will go back first. With that, Lung Xiaoyu turned around and left. The next day, Lung Ruoxue and the others left the room and saw Lung Xiaoyu sitting alone in the courtyard. Cheap sake, old ancestor. I haven't congratulated you yet. Lung Ruoxue smiled fearlessly. In fact, she had wanted to tease old ancestor yesterday, but when she thought that there was still a competition the next day, she gave up. Therefore, Lung Xiaoyu dodged a bullet. Lung Ruoxue, are you asking for a beating? Lung Xiaoyu roared angrily. However, no one took his words seriously, because this was not the first time he had threatened Lung Ruoxue like this. Please keep reading on MYB Zero's novel. Cheap sake, old ancestor. You can't threaten me. We all heard Ruhua's words yesterday, Lung Ruoxue said disapprovingly. Yes, I heard it too. Everyone spoke at once with a hint of anticipation in their eyes. Old man, aren't you going to participate in the competition? I'll be too late if you don't leave now. Looking at the old man, Lung Xiaoyu gritted his teeth and reminded him. These little fellows who were asking for a beating all wanted to see the world in chaos. He was really angry. We can make it. Old man Zhao said disapprovingly. With his strength, it didn't matter if he was a few minutes late. You're not leaving, are you? All right, then I'll leave. Lung Xiaoyu roared with a dark expression. With that, she really turned around and left the courtyard. Is Grandpa angry? Lung China couldn't help but feel uneasy when he saw his grandfather leave angrily. Don't worry, he can't bear to be angry with us. However, we can't go overboard. Let's go coax him. Lung Ruoxue thought for a moment and said, Yes, yes. Everyone nodded in unison. Then they caught up with Lung Xiaoyu. Under everyone's coaxing, Lung Xiaoyu finally smiled. The older the ginger, the spicier it is. Lung Xiaoyu looked at Lung Ruoxue and the others who were acting cute around him and felt proud. Compared to being scheming, how could these little things be his match? However, what he didn't know was that Lung Ruoxue and the others were deliberately giving in to him. Everyone chatted and laughed all the way to the competition venue. Before they could sit down, they were interrupted again. Senior Brother Xiaoyu, you're here. A gentle and slightly surprised voice sounded in everyone's ears. Chapter 10:13. Poisoned and Unconscious. 1. When Lung Xiaoyu heard this voice, her face immediately darkened. Lung Ruoxue and the others were also very tactful and did not say anything. However, Ruhua did not seem to realize that she was not welcome. She still stood in front of everyone openly and shyly stole glances at the man she liked from the corner of her eye from time to time. Senior Brother Xiaoyu, what took you so long? Ruhua asked coquettishly. I wouldn't have come if it weren't for the fact that old man Zhao is participating in the competition, Lung Xiaoyu said with a cold face. Damn it. Was he blaming him for being late? He wasn't here to see this woman. What did it have to do with her if he came early or late? He couldn't help but feel uneasy. Senior Brother Xiaoyu, you promised to come and watch me compete, Ruhua said with an aggrieved expression. Tears kept rolling in her eyes, but they didn't fall. Senior Brother Xiaoyu, you promised to come and watch me compete, Ruhua said with an aggrieved expression. Tears kept rolling in her eyes, but they didn't fall. I asked you yesterday if you'd come to see me play. You said you would, Ruhua reminded her. I only said that I would come, but I didn't say that I would come to watch you compete, right? Lung Xiaoyu said speechlessly. He could only blame himself for being a little impatient yesterday and not making things too clear. However, this Ruhua was too self-righteous. This was the first time he had seen such a wishful woman. What a treasure! Senior Brother Xiaoyu. Ruhua was so anxious that she was about to cry. And such a beautiful woman with teary eyes naturally made the other men near her feel pity for her. How can you do this? You promised this lady, but you didn't keep your word. This is too much, a man accused loudly, unable to stand it. That's right. How can you bully a woman? Someone echoed. Please keep reading on MYB0's novel.com. Don't be like this. Senior Brother Xiaoyu didn't bully me. I was willing. Ruhua quickly defended Lung Xiaoyu, but her words made people's imagination run wild. How can there be such a man? How terrible, one man said jealously. Alas, what a woman, so protective of the man she liked. Have you said enough? At this moment, Lung Ruoxue chuckled and looked at the indignant man. Did these people really think they were buns? Just because they didn't say anything didn't mean that these people could spout nonsense. The men were stunned when they saw Lung Ruoxue. They were all in a daze. At the same time, they thought to themselves, what a beautiful woman. Why didn't they see her just now? Lung Ruoxue had been surrounded by Fengde and the others in a low-key manner, so if she didn't make a sound, no one would notice her. However, when she saw that her own people were being bullied and that her ancestor miraculously didn't make a sound, she couldn't help but say, Miss Ruhua, you should go to the competition, Lung Ruoxue reminded her lightly. She really didn't want to talk too much nonsense with Ruhua, because she knew that even if she did, she would be ignored by Ruhua. It's still early. I want to stay with Senior Brother Xiaoyu for a while, Ruhua said tactlessly. Up to you. Lung Ruoxue rolled her eyes and said speechlessly. She really didn't know what to say about Ruhua's shamelessness. It was better to let her ancestor solve this problem himself. She couldn't help but think wickedly. Little Schwer. Hearing Lung Ruoxue's words, Lung Xiaoyu looked at Lung Ruoxue pitifully and used her eyes to convey his meaning. Little Schwer, you're not helping me anymore. I can't help. This woman is not an ordinary person. Lung Ruoxue replied with her eyes. However, the flirting between the two of them made Ruhua so jealous that she was about to go crazy. Senior Brother Xiaoyu, who is this woman? Ruhua questioned loudly. Even though she had met Lung Ruoxue a few times, she had never asked about this woman's identity. Now that she saw that Lung Ruoxue and Lung Xiaoyu seemed to be very close, she couldn't accept it. Oh, didn't that woman already have a man by her side? Why was she still snatching senior brother Xiaoyu from her? This was too much. Lung Ruoxue was depressed. This woman had been to her place several times, but she still didn't know who she was. However, on second thought, she felt relieved. After all, her target wasn't her. How could she catch Miss Ruhua's eye? It's none of your business who she is, Lung Xiaoyu said speechlessly. He was so annoyed with this woman that he didn't want to talk to her. However, he couldn't do anything too violent in public, so he could only choose to ignore her. However, this woman was relentless. Sigh. How annoying. Senior brother Xiaoyu. Ruhua wanted to say something else, but the host's voice sounded. So Ruhua had to reluctantly walk to the center of the arena. Phew! Seeing Ruhua leave, everyone heaved a sigh of relief. This woman gave them too much pressure. However, she did not provoke them, so they could not attack. Therefore, they could only endure it. However, in their hearts, they hoped that Lung Xiaoyu could resolve this problem quickly. Cheap sake, old ancestor. You should think of a way to settle this once and for all. Otherwise, everyone won't be able to stand it. Lung Ruoxue reminded with a naughty smile. Little Shui, help me think of a good solution. This woman doesn't understand human language. There's nothing I can do. Lung Xiaoyu said helplessly. Please keep reading on MYB Zero's novel. Cheap sake, old ancestor, can't you even handle a woman's? Lung Ruoxue was speechless. I can't. If it were any other woman, I might have attacked long ago. However, I can't beat this woman up. Otherwise, it will be even more troublesome if I provoke Enrume, Lung Xiaoyu explained. It would be easier if this Miss Ruhua was not Enrume's disciple, but she was. Sigh. If you can't do anything, I can't do anything either, Lung Ruoxue said helplessly. Little Schwer, you can't leave me in the lurch. Lung Xiaoyu pleaded with a bitter expression. Cheap sake, old ancestor. I really have no choice. It's not that I don't want to help you, Lung Ruoxue said pitifully. Why don't you secretly kill her? Lung Ruoxue said half-jokingly after some thought. Chapter 1014. Poisoned and Unconscious, 2. I think ITLL work, Lung said after some serious thought. Cheap sake, old ancestor. I was joking, Lung Ruoxue quickly said. Even though Ruhua was a little annoying, it wasn't to the point of having to kill her. I'm serious. When I find a good opportunity, I'll kill her, Lung Xiaoyu whispered. Freak. I didn't hear anything. Lung Ruoxue leaned into the freak's arms and said weakly. Oh, could the old ancestor be serious? The freak couldn't help but chuckle happily when he saw Schwer's frightened expression. At the same time, the second round of the weapon refinement competition officially began. The second round of the competition was still at the spirit artifact level. However, storage equipment was required. Storage equipment belonged to the spatial category and could be considered the most difficult of all equipment. As for the appearance of the storage equipment, there were no additional requirements. In other words, one could refine what they liked according to the blacksmith's preferences. As for the rules of evaluation, in addition to quality, the size of the storage space was also an important criterion. After hearing the host's request, the disheveled old man methodically took out the materials needed to refine storage equipment. After lighting the furnace and preheating it, he threw the materials into the furnace in order. Please keep reading on MYB Zero's novel. A moment later, all the materials were completely melted and purified. Immediately after, the disheveled old man outlined the appearance of the storage equipment he wanted. The storage equipment that old man Zao wanted to refine was a ring. This was also the most common appearance of storage equipment. However, he was very confident in the storage ring that he wanted to refine. After all, the materials he had prepared were the best, and the quality of the refinement would definitely be above that of all the blacksmiths. The main material for refining a storage ring was the void stone. Void stones were also divided into 4 types: elementary, intermediate, high, and supreme grade. Among them, elementary and intermediate void stones were relatively cheaper, while supreme-grade void stones were at least 10 times more expensive than intermediate ones. However, supreme-grade void stones were priceless. The main material for refining a storage ring was the void stone. Void stones were also divided into 4 types: elementary, intermediate, high, and top grade. Among them, elementary and intermediate void stones were relatively cheaper, while high-grade void stones were at least 10 times more expensive than intermediate ones. However, supreme void stones were priceless. About an hour later, Old Man Zao finally completed his work. Even though it was a little wasteful to use a supreme-level void stone to refine a spirit artifact-level storage ring, he couldn't be blamed. Who asked the girl's lowest-level void stones to be supreme grade? Even if he wanted to find an intermediate-level void stone, he couldn't. He felt very aggrieved, okay? Old Man Zao couldn't help but secretly grumble. Fortunately, no one else could hear his thoughts. Otherwise, they would definitely vomit blood. In the audience, the corners of Lung Xiaoyu's mouth twitched as he looked at Old Man Zao in the middle of the arena, especially when he saw Old Man Zao take out a dark blue void stone. His thoughts were the same as most of the people present. What a waste! Such a quality void stone could definitely be refined into a sacred-level storage equipment. Moreover, its quality was definitely of the highest quality. But now, it was actually used by the disheveled old man to refine a spirit artifact. This made his heart ache. Little Schwer, why did you give him a supreme void stone? Lung Xiaoyu said speechlessly. Because storage equipment was precious, the price of void stones had always been high, especially supreme void stones. There's nothing else. The void stone I gave him is already the worst one, Lung Ruoxue explained calmly. The materials for this artifact refinement competition were all prepared by the participating artifact masters, so the quality of the materials was also uneven. However, in Lung Ruoxue's opinion, this was a test of the artifact master's ability. There's nothing else. The void stone I gave him is already the worst one, Lung Ruoxue explained calmly. The materials for this artifact refinement competition were all prepared by the participating artifact masters, so the quality of the materials was also uneven. However, in Lung Ruoxue's opinion, this was a test of the artifact master's ability. While Lung Xiaoyu was sighing, the artifact masters in the competition had already finished refining their equipment. However, because there were still too many people, they still had to wait until the afternoon to know the results of the second round. However, after seeing the materials used by Old Man Zao, they did not expect to get first place. After the second round of the competition ended, Lung Ruoxue and the others quickly returned to their residence. In the Artificer Association's meeting room, Mo Yin looked at the results in his hands and nodded in satisfaction. The first place in this round was Old Man Zao again. Not bad. It seemed that the judge's evaluation this time was quite fair. Please keep reading on myb0snovel.com. However, the judges had no more questions, but Ian Rumai's question came again. This match is unfair. Ian Rumai suddenly shouted. How is it unfair? Mo Yin raised his eyebrows and asked calmly, but he was annoyed. Did this woman have to find something to do? Why couldn't she stop? Old Man Zao used a Supermel Void Stone, while the other artificers only used elementary and intermediate ones. Therefore, this competition is unfair to the other artificers, Ian Rumai argued. Do you mean that it would be fair if the other artificers also used supreme void stones? Lu Feng said with a faint smile. How is that possible? Supreme void stones are expensive. How can these artificers afford to use them? Ian Rumai said truthfully. In a competition that only tested one's foundation, no artificers would use too good a material. Otherwise, what was the point of competing in the next few rounds? It's different if they can't afford it or can't bear to use it. That's their own problem. It doesn't mean that it's unfair to them if others use it. If they want good results, they can use high-level or even supreme void stones. Lu Feng's long speech stunned Ian Rumai. That old man can also use elementary or intermediate void stones. It doesn't have to be a supreme one. This is the fairest for other weapon refiners, Ian Rumai emphasized. Chapter 10:15. Poison and unconscious 3? Haha. What's the purpose of letting them prepare their own materials? Have you forgotten? If the other artificers are willing to use the supreme grade void stone, they can also use it. However, they did not. So how can they blame others? Vice President Ian, don't you even understand this logic? Lu Feng sneered. Among the artificers participating in the competition, many of them came from top families. However, they were not willing to use the supreme grade void stone. Therefore, even if they lost, they could not blame others. Lu Feng is right. The purpose of letting them prepare their own materials is also to test their ability. If an artifact master can't even obtain the materials, there's no future for them. Moreover, no one forced them to participate in the competition with low-level materials. If they lose, they lose. There's no need for Vice President Ian to find any excuses for them. Mo Yin chuckled. But this won't be able to find out the true genius artificer. Ian Rume refused to give up. Vice President Ian, whether a blacksmith can succeed is one thing, but personal opportunities are equally important. If they don't have good opportunities, their starting point can only be lower than others. Therefore, let's not discuss this matter anymore, Mo Yin said decisively. President Liu, go and announce the results. Mo Yin instructed President Liu, who was trembling in fear. Yes, President Liu quickly replied. Then, he immediately left the conference room. As he left, President Liu still had a lingering fear. Oh, there were still 3 more matches. If the 3 of them were to argue like this every time, then they would have a huge problem on their hands. After the second round of results came out, Lung Ruoxue and the others were extremely calm and did not celebrate. After all, the materials used by the old man Zhao were superior after all. If he could not get first place even after this, there was no need to participate in this competition. At this moment, Lung Ruoxue and the others had just eaten dinner and were chatting in the garden. Butler, what's the matter? Lung Ruoxue saw the timid butler standing not far away from the corner of her eye and couldn't help but ask in amusement. Sigh, were they that scary? Now, D. Ren's butler was like a mouse seeing a cat when he saw them. Miss Lung Ruhua. Ruhua wants to find Lord Lung Xiaoyu. The butler said fearfully, cold sweat breaking out on his forehead. Please keep reading on myb0snovel.com. What did you say? Lung Ruoxue asked curiously. I said, I wonder if His Excellency Lung Xiaoyu is here. He seems to have gone out. The butler wiped the cold sweat off his forehead. Yes. Butler, you did well this time, Lung Xiaoyu praised. Your Excellency Lung Xiaoyu, are you meeting her or not? The butler asked carefully. Little Shui, what do you think? Lung Xiaoyu looked at Lung Ruoxue and asked, Old ancestor, you can decide for yourself. Anyway, she's not here to see us. Lung Ruoxue smiled evilly. Little Shui, are you really not going to care about me? Lung Xiaoyu said aggrievedly. Cheap sake, old ancestor. I can't help you with relationships. This kind of thing has to be resolved by the person involved. If I interfere, they'll be looking for trouble, Lung Ruoxue said helplessly. All right then, I'll go see her one last time and clear things up with her, Lung Xiaoyu said helplessly. With that, he left the courtyard. However, he never returned. Lung Ruoxue and the others did not see Lung Xiaoyu return even when they were resting. Did anything happen to the cheap sake, old ancestors? Lung Ruoxue muttered to the freak worriedly before bed. This is the Artificer Association, and he's Mo Yan's beloved disciple. What can happen? The freak said disapprovingly. Lung Xiaoyu was also scheming. Ordinary people could not scheme against him. Yes, that's true. Lung Ruoxue thought about it and went asleep. The next day, Lung Ruoxue and the others left the room and saw Fu Ran standing alone in the courtyard, as if he was waiting for them. However, he hesitated when he saw them. Fu Ran? What's the matter? Lung Ruoxue couldn't help but ask curiously. These few days, Fu Ran had been very quiet in her room and rarely came out to move around. Why did she come out today? Swear, do you have any pills to cure the aphrodisiac? Fu Ran asked after some thought. Please keep reading on myb0snovel.com. What kind of aphrodisiac? Who was poisoned? Lung Ruoxue's curiosity was piqued, and her beautiful eyes sized up Fu Ran. Could it be that Fu Ran was poisoned? It didn't look like it. Aphrodisiac was also a type of aphrodisiac. However, its effects were better than aphrodisiacs. Furthermore, aphrodisiacs were no longer effective against cultivators of their level. However, aphrodisiacs were different. Aphrodisiacs were a type of potent aphrodisiac that someone had specially developed to target the physique of gods. After being poisoned by the aphrodisiac, even a god would have to endure the unbearable torture. The aphrodisiac had an antidote, but the materials used were extremely precious. Ordinary people could not take it out, let alone refine it. Don't worry about who it is. If you have an antidote, give me one. I need it urgently, Fu Ran said anxiously. You can't take the antidote randomly. You have to know that there are many types of aphrodisiacs with differing antidote is naturally the same. Therefore, we can't help you if you don't let us see this person, Lung Ruoxue explained. Really? Fu Ran was skeptical. He was good at refining weapons, but he was a layman when it came to alchemy, and he had never been poisoned by the aphrodisiac, so he couldn't tell if Lung Ruoxue was telling the truth. If you don't believe me, ask Zheng In. He's an alchemist. Lung Ruoxue pulled Zheng in front of Fu Ran and said, Even though Fu Ran didn't dare to believe her, Zheng In was her savior. He would probably believe him. Really? Fu Ran asked carefully. Oh. Xiaoyu had specially told her that his descendant was a little fox, so she had to be careful not to fall for it. Yes, really? Zheng In braced himself. However, when he saw Fu Ran's trusting look, he couldn't help but feel a little guilty. However, he didn't dare not to follow Miss' words. In fact, there were many types of aphrodisiac, as Miss had said. The herbs needed to refine the aphrodisiac were as precious as the herbs used for its antidote. Some could not even be bought with money. Therefore, unless it was a particularly top-notch family, no one would be willing to use so many good herbs to refine the aphrodisiac that everyone despised. Many alchemists with a sense of justice and conscience would not refine such harmful things. Therefore, there were actually not many aphrodisiacs around. Chapter 10:16. Poisoned and unconscious 4. Then what should we do? Fu Ran asked, feeling a little troubled. After all, he had promised the person who was poisoned by the aphrodisiac that he would not let anyone know about this. Who is that person? Or you can take us to see him and then give us the right medicine, Lung Ruoxue coaxed. To be honest, she was even more curious when she saw Fu Ran's troubled and conflicted expression. That person is Xiaoyu, Fu Ran said after hesitating for a moment. Even though Xiaoyu didn't want him to say this, there was no other way now. He couldn't just watch Xiaoyu die in pain. What did you say? Lung Ruoxue narrowed her eyes and asked coldly. Xiaoyu was poisoned, but he didn't allow me to tell you, Fu Ran whispered. Then, she lowered her head and didn't dare to look at Lung Ruoxue and the others. Oh, these people's gazes were too terrifying, as if they wanted to eat people. Where is he now? Take us there quickly. Lung Ruoxue said anxiously. Being poisoned by the aphrodisiac was no joke. Unless he immediately found a woman to detoxify it, it was impossible to hold on. Moreover, his life would be in danger if it went on for too long. In my room, Fu Ran said quickly. Then, everyone rushed to his room. When she reached Fu Ran's room, Lung Ruoxue pushed the door open anxiously. Cheap Sake old ancestor, after rushing into the room and seeing the handsome man lying on the bed in a coma, the anger in her heart soared to the highest point. What's going on? Why is he like this? Lung Ruoxue roughly pulled Fu Ran over and questioned. Her cheap Sake old ancestor was fine when he left last night. How did he become like this today? Please keep reading on MYB0's novel. Lung Xiaoyu was lying on the bed. His face was haggard and dark red. There were scratches on his arms and a pile of wet clothes on the floor. It was obvious that they had just been changed. I don't know either. He only came to me when it was almost dawn. He was already a little delirious at that time. He couldn't say anything when I asked him. However, he asked me to look for you and promised me that he wouldn't let you know about this. Fu Ran quickly explained. Well, Shui was so scary when she was angry. What else did he say? Lung Ruoxue asked after calming down. You even said you were a little fox and told me not to be fooled by you, Fu Ran said honestly. Lung Ruoxue was speechless. Then she couldn't help but roar. Tell me something useful. No. Fu Ran shook her head. Xiaoyu's mind was delirious sometimes. It was not easy for him to say this. Zheng Yin, Grandpa Du, how is he? While Lung Ruoxue was asking Fu Ran, Zheng Yin and the little old man had already gone forward to check on Lung Xiaoyu. Master and disciple looked at each other. Then both sighed and shook their heads. The poison is too deep. There is nothing we can do. Damn it, Ruhua, I won't let you off. Lung Ruoxue said fiercely. Other than Ruhua, she couldn't think of anyone else who would do this. After all, after Lung Xiaoyu left the courtyard yesterday, the person he went to see was Ruhua. Sigh. Now she regretted not stopping her cheap sake old ancestor from seeing that woman. Swear, don't blame yourself. Our cheap sake old ancestor won't want to see you like this. The telepathic freak sensed Schwer's emotions and quickly comforted her. Okay. Lung Ruoxue nodded calmly, and then sat by the bed to observe her ancestor's situation. Lung Xiaoyu was indeed poisoned too deeply, as Zheng Yun and his disciple had said. However, she believed that there would definitely be a way to save her ancestor. Fengde, go and invite Mo Yin over, Lung Ruoxue suddenly instructed. Mo Yin was the master of her cheap sake old ancestor. How could she not inform him about this? Yes, miss, Fengde replied and turned to leave. Not long after, Mo Yin, who had already received Fengde's notice, was the first to rush into Fu Ran's room anxiously. Lu Feng and Fengde followed closely behind. When Mo Yin saw Lung Xiaoyu lying on the bed, the anger in his heart was instantly ignited. Damn it! How could this happen? Looking at his beloved disciple, who was unconscious, his heart ached like a knife. How dare he do such a thing to his disciple? He would never let him off. The culprit was dead, meet no matter who it was. Please keep reading on MYB0's novel.com. What's going on, little fox? Lu Feng asked in surprise. If I'm not wrong, it should be Ruhua's doing. Perhaps her master is also an accomplice, Lung Ruoxue said bluntly. Chapter 10:17. Black-bellied old man Zhao 1. Ruhua, in Rume. I won't let you off, Mo Yin said coldly. Then he turned to Lung Ruoxue and the others and asked, Little girl, do you have any ideas? Not yet. The cheap sake old ancestor has been poisoned deeply, Lung Ruoxue said helplessly. In fact, she didn't know much about aphrodisiac. After all, this poison didn't exist in Lingfeng or the Boundless Heaven continent, so she didn't know much about it. However, she had heard Qingju mention it once, so she knew about its existence. Thinking of this, Lung Ruoxue sent a voice transmission to Qingju. Qingju, do you have any good ideas for the cheap sake old ancestor's poison? Even though Qingju was an artifact spirit, he was quite knowledgeable and proficient in all kinds of medicinal villages. Therefore, it was better to ask him than anyone else. Let me think about it, elder sister, Qingju replied. Then he frowned as he thought back carefully. Alas, there were so many things in his mind that he couldn't quite remember. Okay. Lung Ruoxue nodded imperceptibly, then cut off her connection with Qingju so as not to disturb him. Cheap sake old ancestor, sleep for the time being. He'll think of a way to wake you up. Lung Ruoxue walked out of the room. Seeing this, the freak quickly followed. When Fengde and the others saw that Miss did not call them and went out alone, they were a little worried and followed. Lu Feng, go and take a look too. In Rume isn't that easy to deal with, Mo Yin pleaded softly. All right, don't worry. With me around, I won't let In Rume bully that little fox. However, what about today's competition? Lu Feng asked. Please keep reading on MYB0's novel. The competition will continue, Mo Yin said after some thought. He knew how proud his disciple was. Xiaoyu wouldn't want anyone to know that he was in this state, so he definitely couldn't let outsiders know about this, much less spread any news. Otherwise, he wouldn't mind starting a massacre. Lu Feng, other than that girl's people, anyone who knows about this in the courtyard should be dealt with. Mo Yin said again. He could not let his disciple's reputation be damaged because of this matter. Okay, Lu Feng said, nodding. His Excellency Mo Yin, His Excellency Lu Feng, other than Shuer and me, no one else knows that Xiaoyu was poisoned, Fu Ran quickly explained. Even though there weren't many attendants in the courtyard, he couldn't just watch innocent people get implicated because of this. However, he didn't know if the two of them would listen to him, but he had to say what he had to say. Are you sure? Mo Yin asked through half-closed eyes. Yes, Xiaoyu originally didn't want me to tell Shuer about this, but when I went to ask Shuer for the antidote, she tricked me out, so, Fu Ran said a little gloomily. Now, he had already figured out that he had been deceived by Shuer. How can you defeat that little fox? Lu Feng said sympathetically. Sigh. Even he was no match for that little fox, let alone an honest guy like Fu Ran. Ah. Fu Ran was speechless and couldn't help but smile bitterly. In that case, let them go. However, no one can know about this, Mo Yin said coldly. There's nothing wrong with us, but Ruhua. Fu Ran stopped mid-sentence. Don't worry. If Ruhua really did it, she won't dare to say anything, Lu Feng said with certainty. Ruhua wasn't stupid. It wouldn't do her any good to say anything. Besides, if there wasn't enough evidence, Ruhua probably wouldn't admit it. Of course, she wouldn't dare to say anything unless she doesn't want to stay in the Artificer Association anymore, Mo Yin said with a look of disdain. Like master, like disciple. This master and disciple were simply a nest of snakes and rats. They were both bad people. I wonder if little fox can catch Ruhua's weakness. That woman, Rume, is very sinister. Why don't I go and take a look? Lu Feng suggested. This isn't the time for us to step in. Don't make things worse, Mo Yin said helplessly. I just want to help. How can I be causing trouble? Lu Feng muttered aggrievedly. Don't I understand you? There's no need for us to deal with Ruhua. Why don't you keep an eye on Rume? Mo Yin thought for a moment and said, Rume. He'll send someone to keep an eye on her. Lu Feng hurriedly said. He didn't want to personally keep an eye on that annoying woman. Otherwise, if she found out, that woman would think that he had a crush on her. Just thinking about it made him afraid. Please keep reading on MYB Zero's novel. That works too, Mo Yin said with a nod. He had not wanted Lu Feng to keep an eye on him personally. He'll arrange it right away, Lu Feng said, and left. Lung Ruoxue and the others arrived at Ruhua's residence in large strides. Fengda and Chengwu kicked open the door together, and everyone walked in without letting anyone inform them of their arrival. Who are you? How can you barge into my lattice residence? After hearing the noise, a maidservant ran out from the inner courtyard and shouted, Get out of my way! Lu Tao shouted, and then kicked the maidservant in front of them roughly. However, on second thought, she grabbed the unlucky maidservant and threatened fiercely, Take us to your lady! No! I don't. The maid was about to say that she didn't dare, but before she could finish, Lu Tao slapped the maid's face. With that, half of the maidservant's face swelled up. Are you taking us or not? Lu Tao demanded. My miss hasn't woken up yet. I don't dare to disturb her. The maidservant cried. She felt wronged. Oh, her miss was gentle, considerate, and understanding in front of others, but behind the scenes, she was an extremely hot-tempered, unruly, and sinister person. Therefore, she knew very well what would happen to her if she woke her miss up now. You don't dare? Then tell us where your lattice room is. We won't make things difficult for you, Lu Tao suddenly said with a smile. Chapter 1018 Black-Bellied Old Man Zhao 2. The maidservant was a little hesitant. These people were clearly here to seek revenge. If she betrayed Miss, even if these people let her go, they would probably not be able to escape Miss' vicious hands. Well, what should she do? If you don't say it now, you'll die. If you say it, you might have a chance of survival, Lu Tao threatened. Lu Tao, deal with it directly. This courtyard isn't big. Let's find it ourselves, Lung Ruoxue suddenly said. Yes, miss. Lu Tao hurriedly replied. Then, she looked apologetically at the trembling maidservant and said, I'm sorry, you don't have to say it. No, don't kill me. "I'll tell you," the maidservant cried quickly. An unpleasant smell wafted from her at the same time. "You're so useless," Lu Tao said in disdain. She did not expect the maidservant to be so frightened that she lost control of her bladder. "Oh, Miss Room is in the third room in the inner courtyard," the maidservant cried, but she felt extremely aggrieved. Oh, she didn't want this to happen either. After hearing the maidservant's words, Lu Tao threw the unlucky maidservant in her hand to the ground and followed everyone into the inner courtyard. The third room in the inner courtyard was the best and largest room in the inner courtyard. When they arrived at the door of the third room, Lung Ruoxue gave Feng De a look. Feng De understood and immediately kicked the door open with his foot. Then everyone walked into the room together. Please keep reading on MYB0's novel. Lung Ruoxue and the others had just walked into the room when they smelled a strange smell in the room. This smell was very pungent, and everyone couldn't help covering their noses. "Who is it?" Ruhua asked subconsciously when she heard the sound. However, she was lying on the bed and couldn't be bothered to open her eyes. At this moment, her entire body felt uncomfortable. Lung Ruoxue raised her beautiful eyes to size up Ruhua on the bed. She saw that Ruhua looked extremely weak, her face flushed and full of spring. Her arms and shoulders that were exposed outside the blanket were covered in green and purple marks. She knew what had happened without thinking. However, Lung Ruoxue did not understand who did Ruhua last night. Moreover, the room was filled with the smell of aphrodisiac. Feng De and the others might not be able to smell it, but as an alchemist, it was not difficult to recognize this smell. "Miss Ruhua must have enjoyed yourself yesterday," Lung Ruoxue said with a light smile, but her beautiful eyes were cold. "Who is it?" Ruhua couldn't help asking again, but her eyes were still unwilling to open. "Want you know if you open your eyes and take a look?" Lung Ruoxue said lightly. Looking at Feng De and the others' disdainful expressions, she knew that she didn't have to hope that they would go forward and wake up Ruhua, who was exhausted. "It's you. Why are you in my room?" Ruhua reluctantly opened her eyes after hearing Lung Ruoxue's words. However, when she saw Lung Ruoxue in front of her, the hatred in her eyes burst out without hiding. "What do you think?" Lung Ruoxue asked instead of answering. How would I know?" Ruhua whispered guiltily. She accidentally saw the existence of Feng De and the others and realized that the room was actually filled with people. "Damn it! Who allowed you to barge into my room? Guards! Bring them out and beat them all up!" Ruhua immediately lost her composure when she saw that her embarrassing incident had been discovered. "Miss Ruhua, you don't have to chase us away. We will leave ourselves. However, what I want to tell you is that you know what you have done. Take care," Lung Ruoxue said with a faint smile. Then, she silently left a big gift for Ruhua and turned to leave Ruhua's room. After leaving Ruhua's courtyard, Feng De hesitated a few times. In the end, he mustered his courage and asked, "Miss, are we going to let Ruhua go just like that?" "Who said I let her go?" Lung Ruoxue raised her eyebrows and asked lightly. Feng De was depressed. Miss had stayed in Ruhua's room for less than 5 minutes and only said a few words before they left. "They didn't do anything at all. I definitely won't let her go, but not now." The killing intent in Lung Ruoxue's beautiful eyes flashed. Even though she really wanted to deal with Ruhua, killing her directly was too easy on that woman. The gift she left behind before she left was enough for Ruhua to suffer. "Oh, then where are we going now?" Feng De nodded and asked. He knew it. How could Miss let that woman off so easily? That woman had done that sort of thing. It was too easy for her to die. Please keep reading on MYB0's novel.com to watch the old man's competition, of course, Lung Ruoxue said matter-of-factly. Before coming to find Ruhua, she had asked the old man to go to the competition venue first. Even though something had happened to the cheap sake old ancestor, the competition wouldn't be cancelled because of this. "Miss, do you want me to return to the courtyard to protect the old ancestors?" Feng De asked. "No need, you don't have to worry about that side. I've already arranged it," Lung Ruoxue said calmly. They had to go to the competition venue, and they had to pretend that nothing had happened to prevent people from being suspicious. Alas! For the sake of the reputation of the cheap sake old ancestor, they definitely couldn't let anyone know about this. Oh! Fengda and the others nodded, and everyone walked towards the competition venue. However, at the entrance of the arena, they encountered a nervous old man looking around. "Lass, how's it going?" When he saw them, the disheveled old man immediately went up to them. Alas! After such a thing happened, how could he still have the mood to compete? Even though he had not known Lung Xiaoyu for long, Lung Xiaoyu was his teacher and friend, so their relationship was still very deep. "I've already arranged it. I already know the truth of the matter. Don't worry about the competition. Don't forget, the cheap ancestor and I both hope that you can win the competition," Lung Ruoxue reminded. "Yes, I'll do my best," Old Man Zhao promised very seriously. Everyone entered the arena and had just sat down when they saw Ruhua walk into the center of the arena. Immediately, several cold gazes shot at her. If looks could kill, Ruhua would have died long ago. Chapter 1019. Black-bellied Old Man Zhao 3. This woman is really shameless. She actually dares to participate in the competition, Cui Zhu said with disdain. "TSK. How can such a woman have the face?" Lu Tao said bluntly, her tone filled with disdain. Lung Ruoxue looked at the pale and weak Ruhua in the middle of the arena and knew that this was the after-effect of excessive indulgence. However, because she had taken the aphrodisiac and indulged too much, the damage to her body was very great. Unfortunately, this woman only wanted to get what she wanted by unscrupulous means. She didn't think so much. Following the host's order, all the blacksmiths lit the fire together. After warming up, they prepared to officially start refining. From the third round of the competition, there were no rules regarding the level of the equipment. However, the competition still stipulated that one had to refine an attack, defense, and spatial equipment. Today's competition was about attack equipment. From the third round of the competition, it was a test of the current true level of the artifact masters. Therefore, the artifact masters would all use their special skills. Therefore, the competition was exceptionally intense. The equipment that the disheveled old man chose to refine was a hidden weapon. Hidden weapons were also considered offensive equipment. However, they were considered unpopular among offensive equipment. After all, there were not many blacksmiths who could refine hidden weapons. Moreover, the steps to refining hidden weapons were very complicated. If one was not familiar with the refinement technique, it was hard to say if they could complete the equipment within the stipulated time. However, it might be troublesome for others to refine hidden weapons, but it was very easy for Old Man Zhao. After all, he had been interested in hidden weapons since he was in the Boundless Heaven continent and had always studied them. It could be said that he was quite confident in his proficiency and success rate in refining hidden weapons. Lung Xiaoyu had also said that if he could refine a set of sacred artifact hidden weapons during the competition, his chances of winning would be at least 80%. In order to win the championship, he decided to refine hidden weapons. Please keep reading on MYB Zero's novel. Calm after the old man, Zhao warmed up the furnace. He calmly placed the materials he had prepared beforehand into the furnace and waited patiently. Refining weapons was actually a rather boring and complicated job, especially when it came to materials that were abnormally hard and took a long time to melt. If the artificer's patience was not enough, it was very likely that all his previous efforts would be wasted. And even if he was lucky enough to refine the equipment he wanted, the quality would probably not be satisfactory. However, Old Man Zhao had lived for so many years, and what he did not lack the least was patience. In addition, he did not have to worry about materials now, so he focused on refining weapons. Other than occasionally arguing with the old man and the others, he would stay in his refining room as long as he had nothing to do. Time passed. Soon, an hour had passed. Some of the artificers had already finished refining their equipment, but the materials in Old Man Zhao's furnace had not completely melted, which attracted the interest of many people. Many of the materials used by Old Man Zhao this time were things that they did not recognize. This also made many weapon refiners feel a little incredulous. After all, what were the artificers most familiar with? Of course, it was all kinds of ores and materials. However, now that something they didn't know had appeared, their pride couldn't help but suffer a blow. Therefore, more and more artificers who had finished refining their equipment turned their gazes to Old Man Zao. After the first 2 rounds of competition, there were only about 600 artificers participating in the third round of competition. Now, more than half of the artificers' gazes were on Old Man Zao. However, Old Man Zao, who felt everyone's attention, was still calm and focused on the materials that had not completely melted in the furnace. He did not show any signs of panic. Another hour passed. The materials in Old Man Zao's furnace were still slowly melting, but he did not show any signs of anger. On the other hand, the artificers who had been staring at him broke out in cold sweat. Some of them even muttered to themselves, "Could it be that this old man wants to give up?" One had to know that there was a time limit for the artificer competition. Other than the first 2 matches, the remaining 3 matches were all set to 3 hours. Now, 2 hours had passed, but Old Man Zao's materials had not completely melted. However, Old Man Zao looked calm and collected. It was unknown if he really had that confidence or if he was pretending to show it to others. Half an hour later, the materials used by Old Man Zao finally completely melted. After being purified, Old Man Zao began to shape the equipment according to the shape he had thought of beforehand. At this moment, there were only more than 10 minutes left until the end of the entire competition. Other than Old Man Zao, all the artificers had already completed their refinement. Therefore, all the artificers, judges, and the audience turned their gazes to Old Man Zao. At this moment, everyone had different thoughts. Some were gloating, some wanted to watch a good show, and of course, some felt sorry for the old man. "Miss, what does Old Man Zao want to refine? Is there time?" Lu Tao asked curiously. Please keep reading on MYB Zero's novel. Calm, Hidden Weapon, don't worry. He's confident, Lung Ruoxue said calmly and couldn't help but secretly laugh in her heart. Old Man Zao was really too bad. He could have completed it long ago, but he had to wait until the last moment. He would disappoint many people. Yes. Lu Tao nodded. She was never worried about the people around Mississippi. Those people were all two-faced. Compared to Lung Ruoxue and the others' calmness, President Liu, who was at the judging panel, broke out in cold sweat. He even wanted to cry. But he didn't know what this old man was refining. It had been so long. Why wasn't it done yet? After the first 2 matches, he could tell that Mo Yin and Lu Feng both thought very highly of this old man. However, if this old man couldn't complete his equipment in this match, the consequences would be unimaginable. Thinking of this, he couldn't help but steal a glance at Yin Rume, who was gloating. In today's competition, only Vice President Yin had come. Mo Yin and Sir Lu Feng actually couldn't come at the same time. Even though he was a little curious, he didn't dare to ask about it. Chapter 10:20. Black-bellied Old Man Zao 4. As time passed, there was only a minute left until the competition ended. President Liu prepared to announce the end of the competition. Old Man Zao didn't complete the refinement in this round. There are no results. Yin Rume spoke when the competition was only 30 seconds away. Sir Rume, it's not time yet. If we announce it now, I'm afraid Old Man Zao will have objections, President Liu said with some difficulty. Oh, what should he do? Mo Yin and Lu Feng were not around, so Yin Rume was the boss. However, he saw through one thing clearly. If he really did as Vice President Yin said, Mo Yin and Lu Feng would not let him off. Moreover, it would definitely be worse than offending Yin Rume. President Liu, there are only slightly more than 10 seconds left. Do you really think this old man can refine the equipment? Yin Rume sneered. However, in an instant, her expression changed again and again. The anger in her heart gradually ignited. Damn it, at the last second before the end of the third round of the competition, that Old Man Zao's equipment was actually refined. How is this possible? President Liu also heard the unique sound of the equipment being refined. He couldn't help but feel happy and completely relieved. Fortunately, it was finally refined. He couldn't help but wipe the cold sweat on his forehead and think to himself. However, When he saw the equipment that old man Zao took out from the furnace, he couldn't help but be dumbfounded. Well, what was this? The requirement was to refine offensive equipment, not spatial equipment. But old man Zao was clearly holding a black dragon ring. Didn't old man Zao know that today's competition was to refine offensive equipment? President Liu couldn't help but let his imagination run wild. The old man Zao held the black dragon-shaped ring in his hand and couldn't help but feel a little smug. The quality of the equipment refined this time was better than any time. Therefore, he was very confident that he wouldn't lose first place this time. Thinking of this, he ran straight to the judges' seats and planned to hand the ring to President Liu. However, President Liu did not take the ring he handed over. His eyes were fixed on him. "What's wrong? Isn't the time just right?" Old man Zao said with a hint of grievance. Actually, he had timed it perfectly. This round is about offensive equipment, President Liu reminded him quietly. Please keep reading on MYB Zero's novel. Yes. I know. Old man Zao was a little puzzled. What he refined was an offensive equipment. This is a ring. President Liu was a little angry. Was this old man deliberately trying to anger him to death? He clearly knew that he should refine offensive equipment, but he actually got a ring to fool him. That's right. This is the offensive equipment I refined, old man Zao said with a mysterious smile. Then, he whispered a few words to President Liu. Everyone saw President Liu reveal a skeptical expression. After old man Zao finished speaking, he did not look at President Liu's expression and left coolly. In any case, the results could not be released immediately. It was a waste of time to stay any longer. Then, everyone impatiently returned to their residence and went straight to Fu Ran's room. Pushing open the door of the room, Long Ruasha saw Mo Yin guarding the bed of the cheap ancestor, but Lu Feng was not there. "Little girl, you're back," Mo Yin said softly. "Yes. How's the cheap ancestor?" Lung Ruashua came to the bed and asked Lung Xiaoyu. "Miss, it's under control for the time being, but we have to think of a way as soon as possible," Zheng Yin said. "Okay." Lung Ruashua nodded. Qingju was already thinking. In a while, she would go to the alchemy room that her master had left for her. There were many of her master's past alchemy insights there. "Little girl, did the competition go well?" Mo Yin asked indifferently. "It's smooth for us, but for some people, it can be described as a series of twists and turns," Lung Ruashua said indifferently. "Oh, I have to leave later," Mo Yin said. "Okay." Lung Ruashua nodded. She knew that Mo Yin was worried about Rume, afraid that the woman would tamper with the results. Miss Lung, Rume is here." Suddenly, the butler's voice sounded outside the door. "Why is she here at this time?" Mo Yin was surprised. "Shouldn't Rume be waiting for the results in the conference room at this time? Won't we know if we go and take a look?" Lung Ruashua said with a faint smile. She was very curious about Rumai's intentions. Then, she instructed Fengda and the others to stay in the room while she, the freak, and Mo Yin went to the front hall to see Rume. Please keep reading on MYB Zero's novel. After entering the front hall, Lung Ruashua saw Rume sitting on the main seat with a straight face. She couldn't help but sneer in her heart. This woman really didn't treat her as an outsider. Chapter 10:21. Shameless 1. Where is Lung Xiaoyu? Get him out here. Rume immediately shouted when she saw Mo Yin and the other two. "May I know why Vice President wants to see my ancestor?" Lung Ruashua asked with a faint smile. "Humph. How dare he treat Ruhua like this? He's really worse than a beast. Hurry up and call him out. I want to settle scores with him." Rume roared angrily, her beautiful eyes filled with anger. Today, when she saw her disciple's distracted appearance, she asked with concern. She didn't expect that she would actually ask such a thing. After she found out, she immediately ran to his door to denounce him. "Vice President what did my ancestor do to make you so angry?" Lung Ruashua asked calmly, her beautiful face filled with confusion. However, She seemed to be clear in her heart that these two master and disciple were really shameless. One had harmed her ancestor, and the other had come to her door to condemn her. Did this white face and red face really take them for fools? Don't play dumb with me. How can you not know what Lung Xiaoyu did? Rume said with a look of disbelief. She was even angrier. What are you saying? He's the old ancestor of our Lung family. Do you have to report everything he does to us juniors? Or do you have to inform your disciple before you do anything? Lung Ruoshua asked with a faint smile. Don't argue with me. I'm not talking to you about this. Get Lung Xiaoyu out here. Rume shouted at the top of her lungs, her face and neck red with anger. Lung Ruoshua couldn't help but find it funny when she saw Rume's angry appearance. There were really all kinds of people. They should be the ones who were angry, but this woman in front of them was actually even angrier than them. What kind of logic was this? Could it be that the debtors these days were really big bosses? Xiaoyu isn't here. It's the same if you have something to say to me, Mo Yin, who had been watching the commotion for a while, said. All right, Mo Yin, you can't protect your disciple. He has done such a thing. He has to give my disciple an explanation. Otherwise, I won't let him off, Rume threatened coldly. Please keep reading on MYB Zero's novel. What did he do? Mo Yin was also confused. He wanted to see what this master and disciple pair were up to. He bullied my disciple and stole her innocence, so he has to be responsible for my disciple. Rume shouted angrily. Do you have evidence? Lung Ruoshua chuckled. She didn't know which stinky man Ruhua was with yesterday, but this master and disciple actually blamed it on their cheap ancestor. How ridiculous. That's right. Do you have any evidence? Mo Yin sneered. If Xiaoyu had really done that kind of thing, she wouldn't be unconscious now. This Rume wanted to force someone to marry her lousy disciple, but she didn't find a good excuse. She really didn't know what was good for her. Is there even a need for evidence? Ruhua's already been. Could it be that Ruhua would spout nonsense about such a thing? Ruhua still has the evidence left behind when they were together last night. Rume said a little embarrassedly. Ruhua said that? Lung Ruoshua raised her eyebrows slightly. In fact, she had always had a question in her heart. After hearing Rume's words, she seemed to have some clues. All along, she had thought that Rume was Ruhua's accomplice. However, now that she heard Rume's words, she seemed to be unaware of this matter and only came to look for her after hearing Ruhua's words. Thinking of this, she secretly contacted Qingju to confirm. However, even if Rume didn't know, she was still a brainless fool. She was actually fooled by her disciple and was even used as a weapon by her disciple. So Lung Ruoshua didn't pity her at all. Yes, I also saw the evidence on Ruhua with my own eyes. Lung Xiaoyu actually poisoned her with aphrodisiac in order to get Ruhua. He's really too shameless. I really misjudged him. To think that I even wanted to marry Ruhua to him. Rume said very regretfully. After hearing Ruhua's cry, she was very angry because she really didn't expect Lung Xiaoyu to be such a person. However, after what had happened, Ruhua had no choice but to marry him. After all, in the God realm, unless a woman had a very high status and could do whatever she wanted, innocence was still very important to a woman like Ruhua. Rume, what nonsense are you talking about? How could my disciple take a fancy to Ruhua and even drug her with aphrodisiac? Could it be that you and your disciple have delusions? I can tell you now that even if your disciple stripped naked in front of Xiaoyu, Xiaoyu wouldn't want her. Mo Yin suppressed his anger and said, he hated this pair of shameless master and disciple to death in his heart. That's right. My cheap sake old ancestor can have any woman he wants. Why would he need to drug a woman? It's already good enough that your disciple didn't drug my cheap sake old ancestor. Yet you still want my old ancestor to drug her. Let me tell you, such a thing won't happen in the next life. Lung Ruoshua mocked very coldly. She was really speechless at Ruhua. Even if she wanted to frame her cheap sake old ancestor, she had to think of a better reason, right? However, Rume actually believed a lie like Ruhua. Ruhua must have some tricks up her sleeve. At least her master was fooled by her. What are you talking about? Is my disciple Ruhua not worthy of Lung Xiaoyu? Rume was so angry that her entire body was trembling as she screamed. Of course not. Rume, I know very well what your disciple did. Now, I can tell you very clearly that it's impossible for my old ancestor to poison her. It wasn't my old ancestor who was with her last night, but someone else. As for who that person is, you'll be interested, Lung Ruoxue said mysteriously. In fact, when she went to look for Ruhua previously, she had already read Ruhua's mind. However, she could only know what Ruhua was thinking at that time. Therefore, she was not very sure if Rume was also involved. Moreover, Qingju had already confirmed that Rumai's actions were not fake. However, no matter if Rume knew or not, Rume could not escape this debt. What do you mean? Rume said warily. She was able to become the vice president of the Artificer Association headquarters, so she naturally couldn't be an idiot. Therefore, Lung Ruoxue's implied words instantly gave her a bad feeling. Please keep reading on myb0snovel.com. Chapter 1022, Shameless 2. Go back and ask your good disciple. At the same time, tell her not to pour such dirty water on my ancestor, or else she will bear the consequences, Lung Ruoxue said with a faint smile. Tell her that I won't let her off for what she did to Xiaoyu. Mo Yin added. With that, Lung Ruoxue and the other two didn't even look at Rume before turning to leave the front hall. Rume was so angry that she almost vomited blood when she saw the three of them leave just like that. Damn it, what kind of people were these? She was clearly here to denounce them and wanted Lung Xiaoyu to be responsible for Ruhua. In the end, not only did she not achieve her goal, she even got humiliated. Thinking of this, her anger surged to the top of her head. After realizing that it was boring, she left Lung Ruoxue and the others' residence angrily. After leaving, she did not return to her room. Instead, she went straight to find Ruhua. When she arrived at Ruhua's room, she saw Ruhua lying weakly on the bed. Her heart couldn't help but ache again. After all, she had raised her disciple single-handedly. She naturally wouldn't doubt her disciple just because of a few words from others. After seeing Ruhua like this, she swallowed all the questions she wanted to ask. Master! When Ruhua saw Rume, she struggled to get up, but Rume pressed her onto the bed. Don't move. Lie down quickly, Rume ordered. Master, I'm sorry. I've disappointed you, Ruhua said with tears in her beautiful eyes. She had not performed well in today's competition, so when Master reprimanded her, she could only. Please keep reading on myb0snovel.com. Why are you saying this now? You have to rest well. There are still 2 more matches. There's still time, Rume comforted. Even though she was a little angry that Ruhua was disappointing, now was not the time to blame Ruhua. Master, they'll perform well in the next 2 matches, Ruhua promised. Master, what did he say? Ruhua asked after a pause. Oh, Rume was stunned. Senior brother Xiaoyu, Ruhua said shyly, her beautiful face rippling with spring. After what he did to you, you're still thinking about him? Rume asked with a stern expression. Master, you know that I like him, Ruhua said shyly. She even dreamed of Lung Xiaoyu. Then if he doesn't poison you, will you be willing to? Rume probed, but her face was filled with curiosity. Master, I like senior brother Xiaoyu. As long as he tells me that he wants me, he'll be very happy, Ruhua said in a low voice, her head lowered. In that case, why did he still poison you? Rume asked again. He probably doesn't know. Ruhua thought for a while and defended Lung Xiaoyu. Oh. Rume replied indifferently and stopped talking. Master, did senior brother Xiaoyu agree or not? Ruhua asked anxiously when Rume didn't speak for a long time. Yes, agreed, Rume said indifferently, but she kept paying attention to Ruhua's expression from the corner of her eye. Really? Ruhua was pleasantly surprised and much more energetic. Ruhua did not doubt Rumai's words. As for why Lung Xiaoyu agreed, she did not think too much about it because she thought that her master had played a role. Yes, but Rume glanced at Ruhua and hesitated. Please keep reading on mybzero'snovel.com. But what? Ruhua hurriedly said nervously. She believed that Lung Xiaoyu would not tell the truth. After all, such things were very embarrassing for men. He doesn't admit that he was the man last night. Rume said angrily. Master, men won't admit to such things, Ruhua said a little guiltily. I don't care about other men, but if he wants to marry my disciple, he has no choice but to admit it. I've already told him clearly that even though the two of you have an intimate relationship, if he refuses to admit that he did what he did yesterday, then don't even think about marrying my disciple. Rume said proudly. Master, how can you do this? Don't you know how much I want to marry him? When Ruhua heard that her master was actually interfering, she couldn't help but fly into a rage out of humiliation. Ruhua, what kind of attitude is this? Is this how you speak to your master? Rume couldn't help but question angrily when she heard Ruhua's tone. Master, I'm sorry. I was a little anxious. Master, please forgive me. Ruhua hurriedly lowered her head and admitted her mistake. She knew that her master had always been amenable to coaxing, but not coercion. So every move she used was effective. Ruhua, you really disappoint me. You actually dare to blame me for a man. You better tell me honestly who the man last night was. Otherwise, don't blame me for being heartless, Rume threatened. Even though she only casually asked a few questions, she could tell that Ruhua was clearly hiding something from her, and even lied to her. She might have doted on this disciple very much, but Ruhua's current actions were something she could not tolerate. Master, I don't understand what you're talking about. The person last night was senior brother Xiaoyu, Ruhua said timidly. In any case, she insisted that the man last night was Lung Xiaoyu. She believed that Lung Xiaoyu wouldn't be able to clear his name without any evidence. Is it really Lung Xiaoyu? If it was Lung Xiaoyu, would he need to poison you with aphrodisiac? I'm afraid as long as he has that thought, you will automatically give yourself to him. Looking at Ruhua's current appearance, she actually felt that Lung Ruox's words made sense. Lung Xiaoyu really didn't need to do that kind of thing. He doesn't know, and he hasn't asked me. Ruhua's eyes darted around as she came up with a plan. Is that so? Rume asked doubtfully. After knowing that Ruhua had lied to her, she could no longer believe Ruhua's words like before. Master, you watch me grow up. When have I ever lied to you? Ruhua's beautiful eyes were filled with tears as she said aggrievedly. Rume didn't say anything and only looked at Ruhua quietly for a few minutes. Then, she sighed softly and turned to leave Ruhua's room. Chapter 10:23 Shameless 3 Master. Ruhua couldn't help but feel a little afraid when she saw Rume leave without saying anything. She wanted to get out of bed to chase after Rume, but her legs went limp and she fell to the ground. After Lung Ruoxue and the other two returned to Fu Ran's room, everyone immediately surrounded them. However, no one said anything and just stared at them intently. Lung Ruoxue couldn't help but be speechless at their curious looks. Did they have to be so cute? Thinking of this, she couldn't help but want to tease them. She didn't say anything and just looked at them. Miss, why is that old woman here? After looking at each other for a while, Fengde couldn't help but ask. They're here to criticize? Lung Ruoxue found these words a little ridiculous. They were quite good at blaming others. Ah, this is wrong. Fengde was a little speechless. How did this woman have the cheek to come and accuse him? It was really unbelievable. No, she was deceived, Lung Ruoxue said lightly, then described the situation in the front hall to Fengde and the others. Ah, she trusts her disciple too much. She really believes whatever Ruhua says. Everyone couldn't help but sigh after hearing Lung Ruox's explanation. Ignore Rume for now. As for that Ruhua, dying is letting her off easy. Lung Ruoxue emitted a terrifying cold aura from head to toe and said in an incomparably cold tone, Yes, we can't let Ruhua die too easily. Everyone nodded in agreement. Please keep reading on mybzero'snovel.com, little girl. It'll leave for a while, Mo Yin said. Okay. Lung Ruoxue nodded. After Mo Yin left, Lung Ruashua brought the freak back to her room. After the two of them entered the bracelet, they went straight to the alchemy room in the purple bamboo hut. There were many pill refinement insights and some very precious pill formulas left behind by many masters in the pill refinement room. However, Lung Ruashua couldn't refine many pills now, so she didn't touch them. However, this time she needed to look through all of them. The project could be said to be quite huge. Freak, let's split the work. Lung Ruashua looked at the freak and said, Yes. The freak nodded, then started searching the east bookshelf. Elder sister, will help too. Qingju's voice suddenly appeared in Lung Ruashua and the freak's ears. Immediately after, a small figure appeared in front of them. Qingju, then find the middle part. Lung Ruashua thought for a moment and said, All right. Qingju nodded and ran to the middle to start searching. The three of them searched for nearly an afternoon. At night, they didn't find any records of aphrodisiac in those insights. However, Lung Ruashua felt relieved when she thought about it. After all, how could someone like her master, who had the aura of a king, be interested in aphrodisiac? Sister, we'll think of a way. Don't worry. Qingju quickly comforted her when he felt Lung Ruashua's low mood. Yes. Lung Ruashua nodded. Sister, I heard from Little Fire that aphrodisiac poison has fire-type attributes. We might be able to temporarily suppress it with ice and water-attribute herbs, Qingju said after thinking for a while. Even though he didn't know if Little Fire's idea would work, he could only try it first. Medicinal herbs? Do you need to refine them into medicinal pills? Lung Ruashua quickly asked. Previously, she had asked Jing In to give some medicinal pills to her cheap sake old ancestor, but she had never thought of using medicinal herbs directly. No, but they have to be at least 1,000 years old. Moreover, the older it is, the better the effect, Qingju explained. Oh, Qingju, give me 1,000-year-old snow lotus to try. Lung Ruashua thought for a moment and said, All right, Qingju replied. Then he disappeared into the void. Please keep reading on MYB Zero's novel. Come a moment later, when Qingju appeared again, a jade box appeared in his hand, and he handed it to Lung Ruashua. Lung Ruashua took the jade box and left the bracelet with the freak. After arriving at Fu Ran's room, Lung Ruashua handed the jade box to Jingyin and instructed him to get the cheap sake old ancestor to consume the snow lotus inside. Then, her beautiful eyes searched around, but she didn't find any traces of Mo Yin and Old Man Zhao. Grandpa, where did Old Man Zhao go? Lung Ruashua couldn't help but ask curiously. He was called away by someone sent from Mo Yin, Lung Qingtian explained. Oh. Lung Ruashua nodded. At this moment, Old Man Zhao was eloquently explaining the principle of his hidden weapon to the higher-ups of the Artificer Association in the meeting room. However, after he tried his best to explain the dragon-shaped ring, he realized that the judges were looking at him as if he was a monster. This made him feel a little upset. Damn it. What did these people mean? They were the ones who asked him to speak. After he spoke, they looked at him like this. It was really infuriating. Thinking of this, he complained about Mo Yin in his heart. It was all Mo Yin's fault for sending someone to invite him. Otherwise, he wouldn't have come. Old Man Zhao, how did you think of refining such a hidden weapon? President Liu asked on behalf of the judges. When he heard Old Man Zhao say that this ring was a hidden weapon, he was a little skeptical. However, after he tested it himself, he couldn't help but sigh at Old Man Zhao's ingenuity. By refining a hidden weapon into the shape of a ring, everyone would only treat it as a storage ring. Who would have thought that it was actually a trump card? This was really impossible to guard against. Brilliant. Truly brilliant. Thinking of this, President Liu couldn't help but beam with joy. Even though their blacksmiths were proficient in refining weapons, many of them didn't have very high cultivation levels. If everyone could have such a hidden weapon, it would really be like adding wings to a tiger. The strength of their artificers would also greatly increase. However, he didn't know if this old man was willing to hand over the refinement method. After all, this was something that he had thought of himself, so he couldn't force it. I didn't think much of it. I just did it casually, Old Man Zhao said with a smirk. He wasn't stupid. There was no way he was going to be honest with a stranger. Ah! President Liu was speechless. This was the same as not saying anything. However, this was not the first time he had seen this old man so cunning. He slowly got used to it, seeing it so often. Chapter 10:24. Shameless 4. Old Man Zhao. How did you refine this hidden weapon? Even though President Liu was too embarrassed to ask, someone did ask shamelessly. I'm sorry. I can't tell you. Old Man Zhao said coldly. He was already giving Mo Yin face by being willing to tell them the principle of this ring. Now, he actually asked him about the refinement method. How ridiculous. That was his way of earning money in the future. How could he tell them? Old Man Zhao, you're also an artificer. Shouldn't you contribute to the Artificer Association? If our overall strength as an artificer increases, wouldn't it be beneficial to you too? That person continued. Of course, I'll be happy if it can increase the overall strength of the artificer. However, what does this have to do with me? Moreover, you want me to contribute to the Artificer Association. Then, I want to ask, what right do you have to request this from me? I'm not a member of your Artificer Association. Also, what's in it for me? Old Man Zhao said, with a mocking expression. Alas, these people were really too hypocritical. They were clearly thinking of using his hidden weapons, but they actually said it so righteously. He was not a savior, so how could he interfere in so many matters? How can you not be from the Artificer Association as a certified artificer? The man was so angry that he pounded his chest and stomped his feet, panting heavily. Are certified artificers considered members of the Artificer Association? There are so many artificers in the Divine Continent, and even the entire God Realm. Can your Artificer Association afford to raise them? Old Man Zhao asked with a smile and a face full of curiosity. Did this person think he was a fool? After all, he had been a leader for a while. How could he not know the tricks in the guild? Moreover, being certified and becoming a member of the Artificer Association were two completely different things. The Artificer Association would usually invite some artificers to join the guild. However, the requirements for artificers who joined the guild were extremely high. Most ordinary artificers had to rely on themselves, and the guild did not care at all. Moreover, the fees for the certification of the artificers were not low, so this person's words were really not convincing. The man was so angry that he was speechless. His eyes searched around before finally landing on Mo Yin, who had been silent. Your Excellency Mo Yin, say something, that person said anxiously. Please keep reading on MYB0XN0VL. C0M, what do you want me to say? Mo Yin asked with a faint smile. This fellow had said everything that he should and shouldn't say, yet he still expected him to say something? He had originally meant well by inviting Old Man Zhao to explain the hidden weapon to them at the request of the judges. He did not expect that some people would actually have thoughts that they should not have. If this were to spread, what would their Artificer Association become? Bandits who specialized in robbing artifact masters? They were not that despicable. Moreover, after what they had done, who knew what that protective little girl would think of him? Thinking of this, his anger burned even more. We artificers really need such a hidden weapon, the man quickly said. Oh, then you can refine it yourself? You're all artificers, so it shouldn't be difficult to refine a hidden weapon. Mo Yin said with a wicked smile. But not every artificer knows how to refine hidden weapons, the man said. In fact, he wanted to say that not all artificers could refine such good hidden weapons. But then he felt that it was inappropriate, so he changed his words. It's okay. You can refine it yourself if you know how to refine it. If you don't, you can spend money to hire Old Man Zhao to help refine it. I believe that as long as the price is right. You won't refuse, Mo Yin suggested. Yes. As long as the price is satisfactory, hidden weapons are not a problem. Old Man Zhao hurriedly nodded in agreement. For a moment, no one dared to speak. Old man, there's nothing for you to do here. You can go back first. There's still a competition tomorrow. Remember to rest early tonight, Mo Yin said lightly to Old Man Zhao. All right, I'll take my leave, Old Man Zhao said politely. Then he turned and left the conference room. Your Excellency Mo Yin, why didn't you order him to hand over the refinement method? As long as you ask, he won't dare to refuse. After Old Man Zhao left, that person actually had the courage to question Mo Yin. The Artificer Association is not a bandit den. By the way, let me tell you that from today onwards, you will be removed from the Artificer Association, effectively immediately, Mo Yin said casually. Your Excellency Mo Yin, you can't do this. I'm Vice President Yin's subordinate. When that person heard Mo Yin's words, he immediately panicked and shouted in the meeting room. Even if you're the president's man, I'm still going to remove you today, lest you embarrass the Artificer Association. And you guys put away all the thoughts you shouldn't have and focus on the right place. Otherwise, don't blame me for being ruthless, Mo Yin warned coldly. After saying that, he stood up and left the meeting room. Chapter 10:25 Black Stargrass 1 Your Excellency Mo Yin, you can't do this. When that person saw this, he hurriedly chased out of the meeting room and shouted behind Mo Yin. However, he was ignored by Mo Yin. Mo Yin and Old Man Zhao returned to Lung Ruoxue and the others' residence. As soon as he walked into Fu Ran's room, Mo Yin said apologetically, I'm sorry. Little girl, I didn't expect them to have designs on hidden weapons. It's okay. You can't be blamed for this, Lung Ruoxue said very understandingly. As soon as Old Man Zhao returned, he described what had happened in the Artificer Association's meeting room to them. Everyone was very angry about this, but they were still very satisfied with Mo Yin's performance. Hearing Lung Ruoxue's words, Mo Yin actually heaved a sigh of relief. Even though this made him feel quite incredulous, he didn't think too much about it. Then, he walked to Lung Xiaoyu's bed and sat down. There's still a competition tomorrow. All of you should rest early. Leave this to me. Mo Yin looked at Lung Xiaoyu, who was still unconscious on the bed, and said to the others. All right then. Lung Ruoxue didn't reject Mo Yin's good intentions and left with Fengde and the others. However, she still arranged for the Night Clan to guard in the dark to prevent any accidents. The next day, Lung Ruoxue and the others came to Fu Ran's room early to visit Lung Xiaoyu. Girl, don't worry and go to the arena. I'm here. Mo Yin smiled lightly when he saw Lung Ruoxue and the others. Please keep reading on MYB0XN0VEL. C0M, you should rest too. I'll let Zhengyan guard here, Lung Ruoxue said with concern. Even though Mo Yin looked good, it was difficult to hide his fatigue. After all, even gods needed to rest. That's good too. Mo Yin nodded. Then, he reminded Old Man Zhao. Old Man Zhao, even though you got first place in the first 3 rounds, the competition for the next 2 rounds will probably be even more intense. Therefore, you must not let your guard down, especially Lu Sheng, who is in second place. His score is not much less than yours. Don't worry, I won't underestimate my opponent, Old Man Zhao promised with a smile. He wanted to win the championship, so he wouldn't let go of any competition. Yes, Mo Yin nodded in satisfaction. It didn't matter if he was selfish or protective. After all, this old man was on his disciple's side. Therefore, he naturally hoped that this inconspicuous old man could win the championship of this competition. With that, Mo Yin left Fu Ran's room. Lung Ruoxue and the others accompanied Lung Xiaoyu in the room for a while before going to the arena. When they arrived at the arena, Old Man Zhao went straight to the center of the arena to prepare, while Lung Ruoxue and the others came to their seats. Not long after, Lung Ruoxue and the others saw Ruhua walk into the arena a little haggard. Before the competition officially began, Lung Ruoxue observed Yin Rumei, who was sitting at the judges' table, and found that even though Yin Rumei's expression was normal, she had a straight face. Even when she saw her disciple, she didn't have a good expression. When Ruhua saw Yin Rumei, she seemed to want to say something, but Yin Rumei deliberately turned her head away, not giving her any chance to speak, causing Ruhua to be unable to speak. Lung Ruoxue couldn't help but laugh in her heart when she saw this situation. It seemed that this mother-daughter pair had internal strife. Very good. This was the result she wanted, but this wasn't enough. Miss, Ruwa doesn't look too good, Ellen/4 Tao whispered. Yes, that's all the after effects of the aphrodisiac. Lung Ruaksha's eyes were cold as she gloated. The aphrodisiac was a strong medicine and was very harmful to the body, especially under excessive indulgence. Ruhua belonged to the category of excessive indulgence. Then will the old ancestor Euro, Ellen/4 Tao, was a little worried. With me around, I won't let anything happen to him, Lung Ruashua said with certainty. At this moment, as the host finished speaking, the fourth round of the artificer competition officially began. In the fourth round of the competition, the equipment required to be refined was a defensive type. No matter what shape it was, it had to be mainly defensive. The criteria for judging would be, in addition to the level of the equipment, the defensive ability of the equipment, the proficiency of the refinement technique, and the aesthetics. After the third round of the competition ended, there were only 400 artificers who were still qualified to continue participating in the competition. Almost all of these 400 blacksmiths were at the revered artificer refinement master. In other words, they could all refine sacred artifacts. Therefore, it was extremely difficult to judge. At the same time, this also showed that the artificers had to be more meticulous and serious when refining equipment. Please keep reading on MYB0XN0VEL. C0M. After the artificers in the arena warmed up the furnace, they threw the materials that they had prepared into the furnace and started refining in an orderly manner. However, both the judges and the audience were attracted by the old man Zao. This was because the other artificers had already started refining. However, the old man Zao was doing this and that calmly without any intention of refining. This couldn't help but make the judges and the audience anxious. The audience. What's wrong with this old man? He almost didn't finish refining in the previous round, and now he's doing this again? Someone whispered. After the competition began, they were not allowed to make a loud noise. Otherwise, if they affected the artificers' competition, they would be the unlucky ones. I don't know. Just keep watching. Anyway, there's a time limit for the competition, someone said. At the judges' table, there were also people who were worried. President Liu, what is this old man trying to do? A judge stole a glance at Inrume. Seeing that she didn't notice him, he dared to ask softly. I don't know. We're not the ones competing. Why are you in a hurry? President Liu rolled his eyes at that person. Actually, he was also anxious in his heart. However, it was useless for them to be anxious. They couldn't possibly help the lousy old man refine weapons. President Liu, if this old man loses the competition, will Your Excellency Mo Yin settle the score with us? This was what that person was most worried about. In fact, after the first 3 matches, even if they were blind, they could see something. Shut your mouth. How dare you discuss about His Excellency Mo Yin? Do you want to die? President Liu reprimanded softly. His Excellency Mo Yin was the only weapon god in the god realm. He was not someone who could be casually discussed. Chapter 1026. Black Star Grass 2. In the God Realm, a revered artificer refinement master could only be considered a child among blacksmiths. Above a revered artificer refinement master were a grandmaster refiner, a king refiner, and a weapon god. Becoming a weapon god was definitely the highest achievement for a blacksmith. Currently, there were only 2 people in the god realm who were weapon gods. There was definitely a huge threshold from a revered artificer refinement master. If he could praise it, his future would definitely be limitless. Otherwise, he would probably only be a revered master weapon refinement master for the rest of his life. The most important condition for becoming a weapon refinement sacred master was that one could refine divine artifacts. Even if the divine artifact one refined was only an elementary divine artifact, one could still receive the courtesy of any faction. This was also the dream of most blacksmiths. As for the weapon god, blacksmiths could only look up to him. Hearing President Liu's reprimand, the man tactfully shut up, but his gaze was still fixed on the disheveled old man. At this moment, old man Zao in the arena had already poured out all the materials in one of his rings. When the judges and audience saw Old Man Zayo's actions, their jaws dropped. However, what surprised them even more was the materials that the Old Man Zayo had placed on the ground. Each of those materials was enough to make any artificer go crazy. Because it was a competition between artifact masters, 80% of the audience were artifact masters. When they saw the materials that the disheveled old man had, their eyes lit up. They wished they could take those precious materials for themselves. However, they could only think about it. They did not have the guts to really snatch the materials from Old Man Zayo. A considerable number of artificers who were refining weapons became jealous of the disheveled old man after seeing his actions and the materials on the ground. Which big family did this old man come from? How could he have so many supreme-grade materials? It was really infuriating to compare. Some of the artificers' mental endurance was too poor. When they saw the precious materials that Old Man Zayo casually threw on the ground, their minds were unstable, and they almost damaged the equipment that they were refining. When Old Man Zayo saw this, he even reminded them with a smile, "Focus. Don't be affected by anything. Otherwise, your equipment will be useless." After saying that, he angrily fiddled with the materials in front of them. Then, he sorted the materials into categories and finally kept them in his ring. Please keep reading on MYB0XN0VL. C0M. As for the materials that the disheveled old man was preparing to refine defensive equipment, he had taken them out from another storage ring. Naturally, the quality was not as good as the ones he had revealed earlier. Then, Old Man Zayo slowly refined the equipment. Lung Ruashua, who was also sitting in the audience, was really angry and amused when she saw Old Man Zayo's actions. Old Man Zayo was clearly doing it on purpose. However, wasn't he afraid of attracting the covetous eyes of others? She couldn't help but be a little speechless. Alas! Now the blacksmiths on the field probably weren't thinking about refining weapons. As time passed, Old Man Zayo on the field completed their refinement one after another. However, the disheveled old man was still adding materials to the furnace. His actions made many people's foreheads drip with cold sweat. What did this mean? There was no need to use so many materials to refine a defensive equipment. After observing for a while, they saw that the disheveled old man had placed at least dozens of materials in the furnace. In addition to what the disheveled old man had placed in the furnace previously, there were probably at least 100 kinds of materials, right? Therefore, for a moment, no one could figure out what this disheveled old man was trying to do. Actually, Old Man Zayo had done this to confuse them. Therefore, he had placed a pile of materials that were basically useless and would not affect the quality of the equipment. The result of this was that everyone was confused by him. However, this was what he wanted. He had secretly learned his refinement technique from the girl. How could he let others learn it? The materials that Old Man Zayo threw into the furnace this time were abnormally stubborn and wouldn't melt easily. Therefore, the wait was long and anxious. However, the ones who felt this way were others. Old Man Zayo himself didn't feel that way. Instead, he closed his eyes and dozed off. "Miss, Old Man Zayo is playing tricks again," Chuizhu said helplessly to Lung Ruashue in the audience. "Huh, this is called a tactic. It's used to confuse the opponent." Lung Ruashue chuckled. "Oh." Chuizhu nodded. She couldn't help but think to herself. The people around the young lady were all cunning. It was really too easy to plot against others. Just as Lung Ruashue said, Old Man Zayo opened his eyes at the right time. At the same time, the materials in the furnace happened to melt. Immediately after, he began to purify, shape, and temper. The entire set of movements was as smooth as flowing water, causing everyone's eyes to be dazzled. When there was still a minute before the entire competition, Old Man Zayo finally completed the refinement of his equipment. When the judges saw this, even though they were furious, they all heaved a sigh of relief. Fortunately, it was completed again without any danger. However, if Old Man Zayo was like this every time, they would not be able to stand it. When Old Man Zayo walked to the judges' table and handed his equipment to President Liu grabbed him. "I say, Old Man Zayo, Can you refine the equipment earlier next time? Look, the others have completed Euro, President Liu said with a smile. However, he only said half of the sentence. Alas, he couldn't say that this old man gave them a lot of pressure. If this old man knew that they were on tenterhooks because of him, he would definitely say, "You asked for it. Please keep reading on MYB0XN0VL. C0MY. I completed it in the prescribed time. It's not like I exceeded the time limit. Besides, the materials I used are not easy to refine. There's no way to complete it in advance." Old Man Zhao said, with a troubled expression. President Liu was depressed. He thought to himself, if you didn't know how to do this, and that previously, would time be so tight? What I mean is that you can refine it when the competition begins. President Liu said very implicitly, implying that he should not mess with anything else. I am. Old Man Zhao pretended to be stupid and said, President Liu, take your time to rate. I'm leaving. Chapter 1027, Black Star Grass 3. With that, Old Man Zhao left the arena without looking back to meet up with Lung Ruoxue and the others. After everyone returned to their residence, they went straight to Fu Ran's room. After entering the room, Lung Ruoxue found an extremely handsome stranger in the room, and Lu Feng, who had disappeared for more than a day, appeared. "Little fox, you're back. Where's the old man?" Lu Feng asked impatiently when he saw Lung Ruoxue. "Sir Lu Feng, I'm here," the disheveled old man replied directly when he heard Lu Feng asking him. "Go, follow me." Lu Feng's eyes lit up as he dragged Old Man Zhao out of the room. Lung Ruoxue didn't stop him when she saw this. After all, with Lu Feng's status, he wouldn't sell the disheveled old man. "Girl, he's Lu Yu, the vice president of the Alchemist Association and Lu Feng's elder brother." Mo Yin introduced him to Lung Ruoxue. "Lu Yu, he's the little girl I told you about," Mo Yin said again. "I've heard a lot about you, little fox." Lu Yu chuckled. Lung Ruoxue was a little depressed when she heard this form of address. She even complained about Lu Feng in her heart. It was fine if she called that damned Lu Feng a little fox, but now he actually called her brother. However, Lung Ruoxue didn't expect that one of the brothers, Lu Feng and Lu Yu, was actually specialized in refining weapons, and the other was good at refining pills. Moreover, they were both in high positions. This was really unbelievable. Please keep reading on MYB0XN0VL. C0M, the Lu Yu in front of him, had the appearance of an immortal. There was a faint and distant smile on his incomparably handsome face. However, his bright starry eyes flickered with a trace of interest. It was obvious that he was very interested in someone. Needless to say, this person was Lung Ruoxue. Lung Ruoxue looked at Lu Yu in confusion. She was very sure that the two of them had never seen each other before, so she really couldn't figure out why this man was looking at her, as if he was looking at prey. "Oh, stop looking. The freak will be jealous." Lung Ruoxue couldn't help but grumble in her heart. "Have you seen enough?" As Lung Ruoxue expected, the freak immediately said unhappily when he saw the handsome man staring at his schwer. Is this little fellow jealous?" Lu Yu knew very well that he had heard Lu Feng mention these little fellows before, so he was very interested in them. Therefore, he couldn't help but take a few more glances. Who knew that he would actually make this little fellow unhappy? How interesting. "Little one." When the freak heard these three words, his face immediately darkened. Fuck. This person actually called him a little fellow. He didn't know who the little fellow was? If it wasn't for the fact that this man only looked at Schwer with curiosity and interest, he would have beaten him up until even his parents wouldn't recognize him. "I'm not jealous, and I'm certainly not a little guy," the freak said through gritted teeth. "In my eyes, you're all little fellows," Lu Yu said with a faint smile. "Are you here to treat your cheap sake, old ancestors?" Lung Ruoxue changed the topic. Otherwise, she was really afraid that the freak would fight with this guy. Little Fox is very smart. I've already seen Lung Xiaoyu's situation. He's controlled it very well, and the poison hasn't continued to spread. However, We have to refine the antidote as soon as possible. Otherwise, he can only remain unconscious, Lu Yu said seriously. You have a way? Lung Ruoxue quickly asked. She didn't know much about the aphrodisiac, and her master didn't leave too many records about it, so she knew that she could only place her hopes on the alchemists of the god realm, and Lu Ye's status among alchemists was definitely not low. Otherwise, Mo Yin and Lu Feng wouldn't have invited him. There is a way, but I don't have the herbs, Lu Yu said with some difficulty. Even a clever housewife couldn't cook without rice. Even if he could cure the aphrodisiac in Lung Xiaoyu's body, it was useless without the herbs. What herbs do you need? Lung Ruoxue asked. She had a lot of herbs in her hands, but she didn't know what Lu Yu wanted to use. Because his aphrodisiac poison is already deep, not only do we have to double the medicinal herbs needed to refine the antidote, we even have to add a very precious medicinal herb. That kind of medicinal herb can't be bought with money, and it has long disappeared from the god realm. Lu Yu sighed softly and said helplessly, What's the name of that medicinal herb? Lung Ruoxue's heart couldn't help but sink when she heard Lu Ye's words, but she still asked very calmly. Please keep reading on MYB0XN0VEL. C0M black star grass is a black grass with star-shaped leaves. That grass is extremely poisonous, but it's exceptionally precious. It's difficult to find even with money, Lu Yu said. After adding the black star grass, any strange poison, no matter how serious the injury, can be healed, Lu Yu explained. Oh, Lung Ruoxue responded, then secretly contacted Qingju and asked about the black star grass. However, the knowledgeable Qingju had never heard of this grass. It was mainly because Qingju was not interested in poisonous grass, so he did not pay much attention to it. Where does the black star grass usually grow? Lung Ruoxue couldn't get the answer she wanted from Qingju, so she could only continue to ask Lu Yu. The black star grass is a poisonous herb, so it naturally likes dark and damp places. However, the place where the black star grass lives must be filled with poisonous gas. It's very difficult to find the black star grass. Moreover, the black star grass has been extinct in the god realm for many years, Lu Yu said honestly. Is there a suitable place for the black star grass to grow in the divine continents? Lung Ruoxue asked again. She had not been in the divine continent for long, so she was not very familiar with this place. She had to check the map in many places, so she might as well ask the person in front of her directly. There are two. One is the Dark Grand Canyon, and the other is in the Abyssal Swamp. Both places are very dangerous. Even I don't dare to step into them easily, Lu Yu said helplessly. In the entire god realm, these two places were the most suitable places for the growth of the black star grass. And these two places happen to be on the god's continent. Therefore, in the past, these two places would be filled with adventurers. However, since a poisonous fog ride in the Dark Grand Canyon hundreds of years ago, many people had gone there to explore. Oh, Lung Ruoxue nodded, indicating that she understood. However, even if she wanted to go there to find the black star grass, she had to wait until the old man's competition tomorrow ended. After all, she didn't want anything to happen to the old man again. Chapter 1028. Black Star Grass 4. Girl, no one can go there, Mo Yin, who could tell what Lung Ruoxue was thinking, said lightly. Yes, it's so dangerous there. How would we dare to go? Lung Ruoxue quickly said obediently. However, she had already made up her mind. She would set off immediately the day after Old Man Zao's competition ended. Yes, it's very dangerous there. Mo Yin nodded. You guys haven't eaten yet, right? Go eat something, Mo Yin said after some thought. Okay, then we'll go eat something first. Lung Ruoxue was very cooperative and then left the room with everyone. You plan to go alone? Lu Yu asked after Lung Ruoxue and the others left. Yes, I'm a divine emperor after all. It shouldn't be a problem for me to protect myself, Mo Yin said confidently. However, he couldn't leave immediately. After all, tomorrow was the last match of the blacksmith competition, so he had to stay behind to oversee it. Even if you're a divine emperor, you can't be careless. That place just having strength isn't enough, Lu Yu reminded. He had been to both places in the past, so he naturally knew the dangers there. Just strength alone couldn't guarantee that he could escape unscathed. Don't I still have you? Can you watch me take the risk? Mo Yin chuckled. You. Looks like you've long had designs on me. Lu Yu shook his head and looked at his good friend helplessly. Please keep reading on MYB0XN0VEL. C0M. That's a must. However, you just have to prepare enough pills for me, Mo Yin said. Don't you need me to go with you? I'm quite familiar with that place. Lu Yu looked at Mo Yin and asked in confusion. There's no need. You have more important things to do, Mo Yin said. He was worried about leaving Lu Feng alone here. That guy might look smart, but in fact, only people who really knew Lu Feng would know how muddle-headed he was. If the cunning and scheming Lu Yu stayed here, he wouldn't have to worry about Xiao Ye's condition and could focus more on finding the black star grass. Yes, don't worry. He'll take good care of your precious disciple. However, I have to remind you that the black star grass has long disappeared from the god realm, so Lu Yu stopped mid-sentence. Sigh. He didn't know how to comfort his old friend. In fact, he didn't want Mo Yin to have too much hope, lest he was even more disappointed. However, he couldn't say it in the end. I know what you want to say. I'll do my best. Mo Yin patted Lu Ye's shoulder. Do what? Do you need my help? At this moment, Lu Feng happened to hear the latter half of the sentence and walked in. He couldn't help but ask curiously. After the last match ends tomorrow, I plan to go to the Dark Grand Canyon and the Abyssal Swamp. I'll leave this place to you. Take care of Xiao Yu for me and watch over those little fellows, Mo Yin said calmly to Lu Feng. What? Don't you know how dangerous those two places are? Lu Feng widened his eyes and couldn't help but growl. Even though there were only the three of them in the room and an unconscious Lung Xiaoyu, he still didn't dare to speak too loudly lest the walls had ears. That's where the black star grass grows, and the black star grass can save my disciple. So as a master, I have to go, Mo Yin said firmly. Last time, Xiaoyu was placed under house arrest by Yuan Biao, and he couldn't help at all. This time, no matter what, he wouldn't miss the opportunity to save his disciple. Then I'll go with you, Lu Feng said without thinking. No, I'll go alone. You two brothers stay here and help me take care of Xiaoyu. I don't trust Rume, and I'm afraid she'll tamper with it. Mo Yin was very honest, and the unlucky Rume was used by him. All right then, you have to be careful. Brother, you have to prepare more pills for Mo Yin. I don't want to never be able to him again. Lu Feng reminded again. Well, I won't let him have the chance to die there unless he kills himself, Lu Yu promised. Lu Feng, I'm afraid that the little girl will also go to those two places, so you have to keep an eye on them, Mo Yin said again. Yes, I will be more vigilant, Lu Feng promised very seriously. At the same time, Lung Ruoxue and the others gathered in the bracelet to discuss heading to the Dark Grand Canyon and the Abyssal Swamp. Please keep reading on MYB0XN0VEL. C0M. Chapter 1029. The Dark Grand Canyon 1 in the Bracelet. After Fengde and the others heard Lung Ruoxue's words, they all expressed that they wanted to go with her. However, they were rejected by Lung Ruoxue because she knew that Mo Yin probably wouldn't let her leave easily. Once she brought Fengde and the others to the Dark Grand Canyon and the Abyssal Swamp, she would probably be discovered before she walked out of Flame City. Fengde, all of you stay here to protect the ancestor. Me, the freak, brother, and grandfather can go together, Lung Ruoxue said after some thought. At the same time, she decided to leave a portion of the Night Clan behind. With them protecting everyone here, she would be much more at ease even if she left temporarily. Little Schwer, I want to go too. Lung Qinye immediately protested when he saw that he wasn't among the people Lung Ruoxue was talking about. You can't go. You have to stay here and cover for us, Lung Ruoxue said. If the Lung family disappeared, Lu Feng and the others would probably sense something. She didn't want to be discovered by Mo Yin before leaving Flame City. All right then. However, you have to be careful, Lung Qinye reminded. He knew very well how dangerous those two places were, so he really didn't want anything to happen to little Schwer and the others in order to save Grandpa. That way, even if Grandpa woke up, he wouldn't be happy. Okay. Lung Ruashua nodded. She had so many beasts in the Night Clan. It was really not easy for someone to hurt her on the Divine Continent. And you arranged for some people to stay here to protect them. The others will follow me to the Dark Grand Canyon and the Abyssal Swamp. Lung Ruashua said to Inu. Even though not all the Night Clansmen had come out of seclusion, the people who had come out were enough. Miss, don't worry, I've already arranged it, Inu said. Ever since he knew Lung Ruaksha's thoughts, he had made preparations in advance, without Lung Ruaksha's arrangements, because he knew that Miss wouldn't easily change her mind. We'll set off tomorrow night, Lung Ruashua said lightly. Please keep reading on MYB0XN0VEL. C0M, okay. And you nodded. Stay in Flame City obediently. If Rume wants to find your sisters-in-law, hold it in until I return. When I find the Black Star Grass to save my cheap sake old ancestor, we'll settle our new and old scores together, Lung Ruashua reminded. Miss, don't worry. We will guard the old ancestor without leaving the house. We won't let anyone have the chance to take advantage of us, Fongda hurriedly promised. Although he really wanted to accompany Miss to find the Black Star Grass, he knew Lung Ruaksha's temper very well. Once Miss had decided on something, she wouldn't change her mind easily. Therefore, he could only accept this fact. After all, they had an important mission in Flame City. Yes, all right, the matter has been discussed. They'll send you out first, Lung Ruashua said with a light smile. Then, she sent Fongda and the others out of the bracelet, in case it would be suspicious if she didn't see them for a long time. After sending Fongda and the others out, Lung Ruashua turned her gaze to Inu and asked, Inu, you should know these two places, right? Yes, I know. I've been to both places before. It's indeed dangerous inside. But with us around, there's no need to worry, Miss, Inu promised. He had almost recovered to his peak, so protecting Miss and the others in those two places was not a problem. Moreover, Miss still had such a magical space, so he was even more confident. Then tell me about those two places, Lung Ruashua said curiously. Miss, the dark spiritual energy in the Dark Grand Canyon is very dense. It can be said that that place is very suitable for the Night Clan to cultivate. Therefore, our Night Clan used to treat that place as a training ground. However, something happened to the Night Clan later on, and we were all imprisoned and exiled. Therefore, I can't say for sure what it has become now, but there are many natural treasures there, and you paused and didn't continue. Are they all poisonous? Lung Ruashua asked. Since the Black Star Grass was poisonous, and that place was suitable for growing Black Star Grass, those who could survive there must be poisonous. Not necessarily. Even if it's not poisonous, it's not something ordinary cultivators can consume. However, many alchemists like it very much. However, alchemists are weak and don't dare to take risks easily. Therefore, there are many adventurers in those two places. They specially search for valuable herbs in the Dark Grand Canyon and the Abyssal Swamp. Then, they sell them to alchemists at a high price to earn high profits, and you explained. Oh. Lung Ruashua nodded in understanding. But miss, this is all in the past. I'm not sure what it's like there now, and you added. It's okay, we'll know tomorrow. By the way, which one should we go to first? Lung Ruashua asked. Let's go to the Dark Grand Canyon first. The Abyssal Swamp is a little far from Flame City, and you said after thinking for a while. Okay. Lung Ruashua nodded in agreement. It was already night time after Tong you finished understanding the situation in the Dark Canyon and Abyss Swamp. Lung Ruashua and the freak hurriedly left the bracelet and went to Fu Ran's room. Please keep reading on MYB0XN0VEL. C0M ever since Cheap Sake old ancestor's accident. He had been staying in Fu Ran's room. However, in order not to arouse suspicion, Fu Ran did not stay in another room. However, when Lung Ruashua and the freak passed by the garden, they found Old Man Zao talking to an unfamiliar young man. Well, actually it couldn't be considered unfamiliar. After all, Lung Ruashua still knew that man, because that person was none other than the runner-up in the artificer competition behind Old Man Zao, Lu Sheng. Lung Ruashua and the freak looked at each other and walked into the garden. Old man, you have a guest? Lung Ruoshua knew what the consultant was saying and saw the discomfort on the old man's face. That's right, girl. This is Lu Sheng, the representative of the Ascender Alliance. Old man Zhao winked and introduced, the displeasure in his eyes flashing. Oh, I've heard a lot about you. May I know why young Master Lu is here? Lung Ruoshua pretended to be curious. Chapter 1030. The Dark Grand Canyon, 2. Young Master Lu wants to buy a supreme-grade void stone from me. Old man Zhao rolled his eyes and said speechlessly. They were actually competing with each other, understood? Buying something from their opponent and wanting to use it to defeat their opponent. If he really sold the supreme-grade void stone to Lu Sheng, wouldn't he be a fool? Or did he really look that stupid? Oh, I see. However, young Master Lu, it's not good for the contestants to interact in private during the competition. Those who don't know might think that you want to operate in secret. Lung Ruoshua kindly reminded and secretly observed Lu Sheng. Even though this Lu Sheng wasn't particularly handsome, he could be considered a handsome man. It was just that the scheming in this handsome man's eyes was too deep, making her very unhappy. Moreover, this person was old man Zhao's greatest competitor. Moreover, because of him, her ancestor was imprisoned by Yuan Biao. Therefore, Lung Ruoshua felt that she had no reason to have a good impression of this Lu Sheng. Miss, you're being too kind. I just want to buy a supreme-grade void stone. I don't have any other intentions, Lu Sheng said very politely. The surprise in his eyes flashed quickly. Old man Zhao, do you still have any extra supreme-grade void stones? If you do, sell one to young Master Lu. Lung Ruoshua asked with a light smile. Girl, I only have a total of 2 supreme-grade void stones in my hand. I used one of them that day, and the other is for tomorrow. I really don't have any extra, old man Zhao said in a very difficult manner. Oh, young Master Lu, the old man doesn't have any supreme-grade void stone left. I'm really sorry to have made you come for nothing, Lung Ruoshua said lightly with a smile in her eyes. It's okay. Lu Sheng suppressed his displeasure and pretended to be magnanimous. In fact, he did not believe that this old man did not have any supreme-grade void stone in his hands. In his opinion, this old man was clearly afraid that he would surpass him tomorrow, so he was unwilling to sell him the supreme-grade void stone. Thinking of this, he could not help but hate the old man. Young Master Lu, it's getting late. There's still a competition tomorrow. You guys should rest early, Lung Ruoshua said with a light smile. Miss, you're right. I'll take my leave, Lu Sheng said reluctantly. Since she had already ordered him to leave, there was no point in him staying any longer. Please keep reading on MYB0XN0VL. C0M with that. Lu Sheng left under the gazes of Lung Ruoshua and the other 2. Girl, luckily you came at the right time. Otherwise, I really wouldn't know what to do. Old man Zhao heaved a sigh of relief and smiled. What's there to not know? Just tell him that there's none. He won't dare to snatch it openly here, Lung Ruoshua said disapprovingly. Old man Zhao wiped the cold sweat off his forehead and said speechlessly, If he really wants to snatch it from me, I won't be afraid. You know that I'm most afraid of others wasting my time with me. If he continues to pester me for a while, I might sell it to him if I get impatient. Ha! You still have to exercise. However, it's indeed late now. There's still a competition tomorrow. Rest early, Lung Ruoshua reminded. Yes, girl. I'll go back to my room now. Aren't you going to sleep? Old man Zhao asked. I'll go see Cheap Sake old ancestor, Lung Ruoshua said. With that, she went to Fu Ran's room with the freak. After seeing the cheap ancestor, they returned to the bracelet together. The next day, Lung Ruoshua and the others went straight to the arena after seeing Lung Xiaoyu. As today was the last match, the artificers and representatives of the various families who came to watch the battle could be said to have set a record. The entire arena was filled with people and was already filled with people. Miss, there's so many people today. Lu Tao felt a headache coming on as she looked at the huge arena. Today is the last match. It's normal to have more people. Moreover, the results of the top 2 can be said to be almost the same. Therefore, It's still unknown who will win the championship. Lung Ruoxue explained with a light smile. In yesterday's competition, Old Man Zhao had gotten first place again. However, even if Old Man Zhao had gotten first place in the first 4 rounds, his results with the second place, Lu Sheng, had never been pulled apart. And in this last match, if Lu Sheng performed well, it was not impossible for him to surpass him. Therefore, there was still a lot of suspense in this last match. Therefore, it naturally attracted more people. In the last competition, there were only 150 artificers left. These 150 artificers could be considered elites, especially the artificers who were currently ranked in the top 30 and did not belong to the various large factions. They were even the focus of the various large factions. However, before the final outcome of the competition was out, the various factions would not take action. On the arena, as the host's excited voice fell, the last match officially began. At the same time, this also meant that this year's blacksmith competition was about to end. The last match was crucial, so Mo Yin and Lu Feng, who had been absent from the previous 2 matches, also appeared together. Their appearance couldn't help but bring the excitement of the audience to a new height. The 5th round of the artificer competition was a competition of spatial equipment. The requirement for spatial equipment this time was that the size of the space was the key to determining the outcome. Please keep reading on MYB0XN0VEL. C0M, the size of the space, was determined by the level of the void stone. Therefore, Old Man Zhao, who had the supreme grade void stone, was already higher than the others at the starting point. Even though this attracted the jealousy of many artificers, jealousy was jealousy. They could not bring out a supreme grade void stone to participate in the competition. Storage-type spatial equipment was the only spatial equipment that blacksmiths could refine at the moment. As for those with residence or higher uses, even if they wanted to refine them, they did not have the ability. Therefore, regardless of whether the blacksmiths in the competition refined rings or bracelets, they were all of this type. At this moment, on the arena, the other artificers were already seizing the time to refine their equipment. Only Old Man Zhao was leisurely busying himself. When President Liu and the others saw this scene, they were so angry that their noses almost went crooked. Oh, this Old Man Zhao was really incorrigible. President Liu couldn't help but think to himself. At the same time, he cast his resentful gaze on the old man. Chapter 1031. The Dark Canyon 3. Old Man Zhao, who felt President Liu's gaze, looked up and smiled at President Liu and the others before going back to what he was doing. President Liu was so depressed that he wanted to scratch the wall. After Old Man Zhao finished what he was doing, he started refining his equipment. Old Man Zhao placed the materials into the furnace that had already been preheated. After the materials melted, it was time to purify, shape, and finally temper. In less than half an hour, a crystal-clear bracelet was completed. At this moment, the storage equipment of the other weapon refiners had yet to be completed. When the judges saw this unbelievable scene, their jaws dropped again. Damn, what kind of speed was this? It was clearly the last to be refined, but it was the first to be completed, causing them to be on tenterhooks. What's more, even though the disheveled old man had already refined the equipment, their hearts, which were used to waiting until the last moment, could not rest at ease. What was going on? Old Man Zhao ignored everyone's gazes and extinguished the fire. Then he carried the bracelet to the judge's table and handed it to President Liu. President Liu took the bracelet from Old Man Zhao and sighed. This bracelet was really refined beautifully. It was crystal clear, without any impurities. He didn't expect this inconspicuous Old Man Zhao's aesthetic standards to be first-rate. One had to know that in addition to having superb refining skills, beauty standards were also quite important for an outstanding artificer. It could be said that neither was indispensable. President Liu held the bracelet in his hand and observed it carefully. However, Old Man Zhao was getting impatient. Please keep reading on MYB0XN0VEL. C0M, President Liu, my storage bracelet is completed. Can I leave now? Old Man Zhao couldn't help but ask. Leave? The competition isn't over yet. You're leaving? President Liu said in disbelief. Old Man Zhao had something so important to do that he actually wanted to leave even though the results weren't out yet. As there were only 150 artificers in today's competition, they planned to produce results on the spot. All the artificers should know about this. Therefore, he really didn't expect that this old man would leave even though he knew that the results would be released immediately after the competition. Yes, I'm tired. I want to go back and rest early, Old Man Zhao said awkwardly. Sleepy? The corners of President Liu's mouth twitched a few times. He looked at the old man as if he was a monster and thought to himself, could it be that sleeping is more important than results in this old man's heart? Even though he couldn't believe what he was hearing in Old Man Zhao's heart, sleep was really more important than results. Who asked him to be so confident in the storage bracelet he refined? Unless they secretly did something to prevent him from getting first place, there was no way he could get first place. However, with Mo Yin and Lu Feng around, the probability of these people wanting to defame him was very low. Yes, I didn't sleep well last night, Old Man Zhao said very casually. But you can't leave. This is a competition after all. You can't break the rules, President Liu said helplessly. He kept telling himself to calm down. He had to calm down. All right then, Old Man Zhao said with some grievance. Then he returned to his territory with extreme reluctance and closed his eyes. After a while, the sound of snoring came from the direction of the Old Man Zhao. Immediately, several black lines involuntarily slid down the foreheads of the judges and the artifact masters in the competition. Lu Feng, who was sitting at the judges' table with Mo Yin, couldn't help but chuckle when he saw Old Man Zhao's actions. Lu Feng chuckled. Is it very funny? Mo Yin rolled his eyes at Lu Feng helplessly. Isn't it funny? This old man is the first artificer who dares to sleep during the artificer competition. I like such an extraordinary person, Lu Feng said proudly. Seeing Old Man Zhao so casual, his impression of this old man became even better. How dare he sleep at such an important occasion and even snore? Such imprudence. Such a person is not worthy of participating in our Artificer Association's competition at all. He should be disqualified. At this moment, Rume, who had been sitting at the side without saying anything, spoke up, her beautiful face still filled with disdain. Please keep reading on MYB0XN0VL. C0M, Vice President Yin. Can I say that you're jealous of Honghua? Even if this old man is indecent and you want to disqualify him from the competition, your disciple won't be able to win the championship. Therefore, why do you have to be a villain and let others benefit? Lu Feng said mockingly. Rume was too selfish. Even though the two of them seemed to have a conflict now, Ruhua was raised by Rume after all. Therefore, no matter how angry Rume was, she also hoped that Ruhua could get good results. Unfortunately, Ruhua was disappointing. Ever since she schemed against Lung Xiaoyu, she didn't know what was going on. She had performed badly in 2 consecutive matches and couldn't even be ranked in the top 10 now. Rume's anger immediately soared to the highest point after being provoked by Lu Feng. However, before she could flare up, she was suppressed by Mo Yan's words. We're in a competition now. Please pay attention to the occasion, Vice President Yin, Mo Yin said lightly. Rume had no choice but to suppress her anger when she heard Mo Yan's words. However, it didn't feel good to have fire nowhere to vent. However, she also knew that with Mo Yin around, he wouldn't let her lose her composure at such an important occasion. She also knew that she had to control it, so she could only sulk alone. 3 hours passed quickly. The 150 artificers on the arena completed their refinement. Next, they waited for the results. The judges divided the work and worked together. In less than half an hour, the results of the blacksmiths were out. After that, they handed the results of their evaluation to Mo Yin and Lu Feng for the final review. As for Rume, she was ignored by the judges. After Mo Yin and Lu Feng checked some of the equipment, they nodded in satisfaction. Then, President Liu announced the results of all the artificers on behalf of the Artificer Association. Old Man Zhao did not disappoint and once again took the first place. At the same time, he also won the championship with the first place in all 5 rounds of the competition. There were definitely no more than 10 people in the history of the Artificer competition who won with such a complete victory. Chapter 1032. The Dark Grand Canyon 4. After the competition, forces came to visit Lung Ruoxue and the others one after another. This couldn't help but annoy Lung Ruoxue and the others. Therefore, she could only tell the butler directly that she wouldn't see anyone no matter who came. At this moment, Old Man Zhao was dragged away by Lu Feng again. Lung Ruoxue stood by Lung Xiaoyu's bed and told him the good news. Cheap Sake, old ancestor. Old Man Zhao finally won the championship. Lung Ruoxue looked at Lung Xiaoyu, who was lying unconscious on the bed. Unfortunately, Lung Xiaoyu could not give her any response now. Thinking of this, Lung Ruoxue's heart sank. This made her even more determined to find the black star grass. Extinct? She didn't believe that the black star grass would really be extinct. It was impossible for anything called a natural treasure to not have any means to protect themselves. Therefore, rather than saying that they were extinct, it was more appropriate to say that they were hidden. At least, Lung Ruoxue thought so. After Old Man Zhao's competition, everyone planned to celebrate. However, considering Lung Xiaoyu's reason, they did not celebrate openly. The so-called celebration was just a cover for Lung Ruoxue. While everyone was drinking and chatting happily, Lung Ruoxue and the other 3 used the excuse that they were about to break through to temporarily enter seclusion. Even though Mo Yin and the others were suspicious of their sudden seclusion, they didn't see any clues from Lung Ruoxue and the others' faces, so they didn't think too much about it. After all, Feng De and the others were still here. Mo Yin, Lu Feng, and Lu Yu watched Lung Ruoxue and the other 3 returned to their rooms and left with ease. After all, Mo Yin planned to go to the Dark Grand Canyon and the Abyssal Swamp, so they had to help him prepare. Please keep reading on MYB0XN0VEL. C0M after Mo Yin and the other 2 left. Feng De and the others immediately guarded the courtyard, while Lung Qingtian and Lung Ruhan took the opportunity to meet up with Lung Ruoxue. Then, the 4 of them turned invisible and left Flame City. After Mo Yin prepared everything and handed Lung Xiaoyu and the others to Lu Feng, he left. The Dark Grand Canyon was located southwest of Flame City, about 2 days away. Lung Ruoxue and the others traveled day and night and finally arrived at the Dark Grand Canyon 2 days later in the afternoon. Before entering the Dark Grand Canyon, Lung Ruoxue felt an extremely strong, dark attribute, spiritual energy rushing towards her. There were also dozens of people lingering outside the canyon. When they saw Lung Ruoxue and the others, someone immediately came forward to get close. "Ha! You guys look unfamiliar. This must be your first time in the Dark Grand Canyon." A man in his 30s said with a smile. "Yes." Lung Ruoxue nodded and didn't deny it. "Would you like to accompany us?" the man asked again. "Why do I need a companion?" Lung Ruoxue was very puzzled. She had never liked to move with strangers, and it was inconvenient for her to do anything, so she really didn't have any thoughts of a companion. The Dark Grand Canyon is very dangerous. If you have a companion, your safety will be greatly increased. Otherwise, why do you think these people don't enter the canyon? It's because they aren't confident, the man explained. "Oh." Lung Ruoxue nodded and didn't continue. "How about it? Do the 4 of you want to accompany us? There are more than 10 of us, and our strength is above that of a mid-level god. If we add you, we can take care of each other," the man said anxiously. To be honest, it was not easy to see a stranger in the canyon, so he was very afraid that these people would be beaten to it by the other teams. Lung Ruoxue couldn't help but think to herself after hearing the man's words. This man said that his team had more than 10 people, but there were at least 40 to 50 people in front of her. In other words, the man wasn't the only team waiting to form a team here. In that case, why did she have to form a team with this man who took the initiative to come to her door? Not to mention that she didn't have the intention to accompany others. Even if she did, she wouldn't choose someone who took the initiative to come to her door. After all, she didn't have a good impression of someone who took the initiative to come to her door. However, even though you had been here before, that was a long time ago. If they could find someone familiar with the terrain here as a guide, it might save them a lot of time. Thinking of this, Lung Ruoxu's beautiful eyes looked at the others. Please keep reading on MYB0XN0VEL. C0M, my team, is the strongest here. You won't regret teaming up with us. The man felt Lung Ruoxu's gaze wandering and couldn't help but explain anxiously. Oh, then can you tell me, if I travel with you and find something good, how will we split it? Lung Ruoxu raised her eyebrows and asked lightly. By the number of people, of course, the man said fairly. Numbers? Why isn't it that whoever puts in more effort gets more? Lung Ruoxu pretended to be puzzled and asked. However, she couldn't help but sneer in her heart. According to numbers, this man really knew how to plan. In this man's opinion, there were only 4 of them, while she had more than 10 people. Therefore, even if there was good stuff, it was her side who had the final say. Therefore, she thought of this distribution method. In fact, in Lung Ruoxu's opinion, this was clearly compensation without regard to performance, and this was what she had always disliked. What she pursued was that the more one worked, the more one benefited. Whoever contributed the most was qualified to take the most. However, the man in front of her obviously didn't think so. Lung Ruoxu sized up the man in front of her with her beautiful eyes and couldn't help but sigh inwardly. One really couldn't judge a book by its cover. He really didn't expect this man to look so amiable, honest, and scheming. Still, it didn't make much difference to her. In any case, she had no intention of partnering this man. Even if it's based on how much effort we put in, we must be the ones who put in the most effort, the man said confidently. In other words, no matter how they divided it, they would definitely take the lion's share. That might not be the case. Lung Ruoxu said with a faint smile. We have more people, so we naturally have to contribute more, the man reminded unhappily, but he couldn't help complaining in his heart. Damn, why was this woman so difficult to deal with? Originally, he thought that this woman was so beautiful and should be the daughter of a big family who came out to play. For such a young lady from a big family who was not experienced in the world, she was usually very easy to fool. Therefore, he did not expect Lung Ruoxu to be so difficult to deal with. Chapter 1033. The Dark Grand Canyon 5. I've never known that strength is determined by numbers. I really don't know where you get your confidence from. You guys will contribute the most, Lung Ruoxu said, as if she was looking at a joke. There are so many of us. Can't we compare to the 4 of you? When the man heard this, fire immediately surged up, and he couldn't help but roar. If I say that you can't compare, will you be so angry that you want to kill me? Lung Ruoxu asked innocently and innocently. The expression on her beautiful face was even more silly and cute. The man was very angry, very angry. However, when he saw the innocent expression on Lung Ruoxu's face, he actually couldn't vent all his anger. After holding it in for a long time, the man said angrily, Let's see. Don't regret it if you don't choose us. With that, the man turned around and walked away angrily. Why is this person like this? How rude. Lung Ruoxu pretended to be dissatisfied as she looked at the man's back. Schwer is so cute. The freak couldn't resist the temptation and hugged the cute Lung Ruoxu. Ahem. 2 coughs suddenly sounded. Then, Lung Ruhan said in all seriousness, Be careful of your image in public. Don't touch my precious sister. Schwer is my woman, the freak reminded him. Schwer is my sister, Lung Ruhan reminded her. Please keep reading on MYB0XN0VL. C0M, brother freak, don't be jealous. Let's enter the Dark Grand Canyon quickly. Lung Ruoshua said helplessly. Yes. The two of them immediately nodded. Then the four of them walked towards the entrance of the Grand Canyon. However, before they entered the canyon, Lung Ruoshua stopped in front of the old and young. Even though Lung Ruhan and the others didn't understand what Shuer wanted to do, they didn't ask further. In their hearts, Shuer was right no matter what she did. The old man in front of Lung Ruoshua was about 70 years old. He looked like he had gone through a lot, but his eyes were extremely bright and revealed a sense of shrewdness. As for the young man, he looked to be about 17 or 18 years old. He was young and had a pair of bright black eyes on his slightly tender face. At this moment, he was looking at them curiously. Even though the clothes on these two people were a little shabby, they were very clean. Moreover, their attitude was neither servile nor overbearing, giving Lung Ruoshua a good first impression. Does the old man have a team? Lung Ruoshua asked with a light smile. No, we're here to guide someone else, the old man said. His voice was loud and full of energy. Oh, I wonder how much you charge? Lung Ruoshua asked curiously, but she was secretly laughing in her heart. She really got what she wanted. She happened to want to find a guide. 10 intermediate-grade crystals. The old man hesitated and said, 10 intermediate-grade crystals aren't expensive. My grandson and I are very familiar with this place. We can definitely bring you guys to find something good, the old man hurriedly added. In fact, he had already offered this price for a long time. However, others found it expensive, so no one had hired them. Now that someone finally asked, he didn't want to let go of this opportunity. Okay. Lung Ruoshua nodded in agreement. Ah, you agreed? The old man asked in disbelief. Was he dreaming? This beautiful lady agreed to his bid without any hesitation. This was really unbelievable. Yes. Can you bring us into the Grand Canyon now? Lung Ruoshua asked with a light smile. The reason why she liked this old man and young man was that they looked more honest and pleasing to the eye. Yes, Aoer. Thank this lady quickly. The crystal you converted energy into is finally settled. The old man pulled his grandson over and said happily. His face was almost blooming with joy. Thank you, miss. The young man named Aoer said shyly. There's no need to thank me. As long as you can bring me to what I want, I will give you an additional reward, Lung Ruoshua said softly. Please keep reading on MYB0XN0VEL. C0M no need. 10 intermediate-grade crystals are enough, the old man hurriedly said. The reason he had offered this price was to earn enough money for his grandson to convert energy. Now that he had earned it, he naturally could not charge additional fees. Otherwise, he would feel guilty. Seeing the old man decline, Lung Ruoshua didn't say anything else. Then, the four of them followed the grandfather and granddaughter into the dark canyon. The dark Grand Canyon was a deep valley. The temperature inside was very low, and it was foggy all year round. It was dark and humid, so the poisonous insects and poisonous grass here grew very active. However, with the grandfather and granddaughter leading the way, Lung Ruoshua and the others easily avoided the attacks of many poisonous insects. Looking at her grandfather and grandson's familiar and calm manner, as if they were walking in their own backyard, Lung Ruoshua felt that her judgment was correct. Aoer and I live nearby. We often came here to play when we were young, so we're very familiar with the environment here. Most of the poisonous insects here won't attack you as long as you don't take the initiative to provoke them. However, some poisonous insects are different, so avoid them if you can. Don't clash with them head-on, the old man explained calmly when he felt Lung Ruoshua's gaze. Okay, Lung Ruoshua nodded. Even though these two weren't very strong, they were very clear about life. Their words also revealed their indifferent and aloof characters. Miss, there's a very precious medicinal herb not far from here. However, there's a guardian beast there, so the old man didn't finish his sentence, but his meaning was very clear. What herb? Lung Ruoshua asked curiously. Camphor wood, the old man said. Even though he was not an alchemist, he knew how precious camphor wood was. Unfortunately, his strength was limited, so he could only sigh at the sight of it. Now that Lung Ruoshua had done a great favor for him and his granddaughter, He was very willing to use this opportunity to tell Lung Ruoxue and the others the location of the incense wood. As for whether they could obtain it or if they had the guts to snatch the wood from the beast's mouth, it was not within his consideration. Are you sure? Lung Ruoxue couldn't believe it. How could there be camphor tree here? Normally, this place wasn't suitable for the growth of camphor trees. Even though camphor trees like places with dense spiritual energy, there was a trace of poison in the spiritual energy here, so she was suspicious of the old man's words. Yes, the old man nodded. He had heard the name of the camphor wood from the guardian beast. Later, after he was lucky enough to escape from the beast's mouth, he specially went to investigate the camphor tree. That was how he knew how precious this incense wood was. In that case, bring us to take a look, Lung Ruoxue said with interest, and the Qingju in the bracelet kept reminding her to get the camphor wood. All right, please follow me, the old man said. Then he walked to the front to lead the way. Not long after, Lung Ruoxue and the other three followed the old man to a cliff. Through the old man's guidance, they looked up and indeed found a small tree half the height of a person halfway up the cliff. The small tree was emerald green and watery, and it was growing vigorously. Moreover, it seemed to be living very comfortably. This is the camphor tree? Lung Qingtian asked curiously. This camphor tree was too small. When would it grow into a towering tree? Grandpa, this is it, Lung Ruoxue said with a light smile. Swear, is this tree still underage? Lung Qingtian asked with a face full of question marks. Grandpa, it's already an adult. The camphor tree will only grow this big, Lung Ruoxue explained with a smile. What's the use of such a small tree? Lung Qingtian complained, feeling extremely disappointed with this small tree. However, as soon as he finished speaking, a childish voice sounded in his heart. I'm very useful, you ignorant old man, the tender childlike voice said in dissatisfaction. Who's talking? Lung Qingtian suddenly shouted. Grandpa, what's wrong? Lung Ruoxue, who felt that something was wrong, quickly asked with concern. Chapter 1034. Swear, there's a voice talking to me, Lung Qingtian said fearfully. However, as soon as he finished speaking, a child's happy laughter sounded. Who are you? Lung Qingtian couldn't help but ask in his heart. Guess, the child replied playfully. I can't guess. Lung Qingtian was a little depressed. He didn't know which brat was playing with him. It was really too detestable. Grandpa, Lung Ruoxue couldn't help but say worriedly when she saw Lung Qingtian suddenly acting strange again. Swear, that voice spoke again, Lung Qingtian said as if he had been wronged. Moreover, it was still teasing him, he added in his heart. After Lung Ruoxue heard her grandfather's words, her beautiful eyes couldn't help but size up the agarwood on the cliff. As far as she knew, the main effect of the wood of camphor wood was to focus one's mind and calm one's mind. It could prevent cultivators from going crazy because of mental demons. Therefore, it was very important to cultivators. Moreover, the camphor tree was also the main ingredient in refining the concentration pill. It was extremely precious. However, the price of camphor wood had always been high. It was said that a small leaf could be sold for an astronomical price, let alone an entire stalk. Please keep reading on MYB0's novel. Moreover, according to Qingju, this camphor would seem to have developed intelligence. As such, she had to transplant this rare medicine into the bracelet to prevent others from coveting it. At the same time, she believed that no one would take more care of these precious herbs than Qingju. Grandpa, that small tree should be playing with you, Lung Ruoxue said knowingly. I'm not a small tree. A slightly dissatisfied voice sounded in Lung Ruoxue's heart. Lung Ruoxue smiled knowingly when she heard this voice. She had guessed correctly. If you're not a small tree, are you a big tree? Lung Ruoxue teased. Not really. I'm not an ordinary tree. I'm a camphor tree, the child protested. Can you transform? Lung Ruoxue asked curiously. It's not that easy to transform. The child's voice seemed to be a little sad. Alas, it was a sprite's greatest desire to develop intelligence and transform. However, It was also the most difficult because it was very likely that they would be killed before they could develop intelligence or even transform. If I can guarantee that you can transform, are you willing to follow me? Lung Ruoxue coaxed, her beautiful face full of sincerity. Really? But what little tiger said about humans can't be trusted, the child said honestly. Not all humans are bad, Lung Ruoxue said weakly. These sprites were too wary of humans. However, this was also a good thing. At least they could save their lives. Are you a good person? The child asked innocently. Would you believe me if I said I was a good person? Lung Ruoxue asked in return, feeling a little speechless. This also made her even more determined to transplant this little fellow into the space because this little fellow was really too innocent and didn't have any schemes at all. Alas, I believe you, the child said very seriously. It liked the smell on this woman very much. Otherwise, it wouldn't have taken the initiative to contact them. Then come with me. I have a better place. It's more suitable for your growth, Lung Ruoxue said calmly. I can't go with you, the child said after a moment's hesitation. Why not? Lung Ruoxue was a little puzzled. Please keep reading on MYB Zero's novel. What will happen to little tiger if I leave? He's my only friend here. I can't leave him alone, the child said awkwardly. If it wants to, it can go with you, Lung Ruoxue suggested. Really? Then will you order it around like a servant? The child asked worriedly. No, Lung Ruoxue promised. Even though she didn't know who this little tiger mentioned by the sprite was, but she would treat it the same as her other beasts no matter if it was a tree or a beast. Then I'll discuss it with it, the child said softly. After that, there was silence. Miss, this wood's guardian beast is very powerful, but it doesn't seem to be here now, so this is definitely a good time if you want to obtain it. Seeing that Lung Ruoxue and the others didn't react for a long time, the old man couldn't help but say, No need, Lung Ruoxue said with a light smile. Miss, don't you want this camphor wood anymore? The old man was a little surprised. No one should be able to refuse this camphor wood, right? I want it, Lung Ruoxue said with certainty. The old man was confused. She didn't want to obtain this wood while the guardian beast wasn't around. He really didn't know what this beautiful lady was planning. However, not long after, the old man saw a black shadow pounce at Lung Ruoxue. The old man was about to speak nervously when he realized that the black shadow stopped in front of Lung Ruoxue and stared at her. Lung Ruoxue's beautiful eyes sized up the black kitten that was floating in midair and looking at her. It wasn't a cat, but a small black tiger in disguise. This little tiger's entire body was as black as satin, and a pair of big golden eyes were staring at her with bright eyes. There was still a trace of vigilance in its eyes, but perhaps it had communicated with the camphor wood, so it wasn't hostile to her. And this little black tiger should be the little tiger that Qin and Xiangmu mentioned. Human, do you want to take little Qi away? The little black tiger asked via voice transmission. Yes, and you? Lung Ruoxue replied with a faint smile. She had always been the most loving to cute little animals, and this little black tiger's mimicry was really cute like a kitten. Humans are too evil. I don't like humans, the little black tiger said honestly. Not all humans are that way, Lung Ruoxue said indifferently. She couldn't bring these two little fellows into the bracelet in front of outsiders. However, she believed that these two little fellows would definitely like it there. Little guy, I have a place that's very suitable for the growth of the camphor wood. It can also transform as soon as possible, and you can also live there. You will have many companions there. Lung Ruoxue coaxed again. Chapter 1035. Really? The little black tiger replied doubtfully, its golden eyes still wary. Yes, I don't lie to children, Lung Ruoxue promised. Then I'll take a look at that place before deciding, the little black tiger said a little cunningly. Even though it had never left the dark Grand Canyon since it was born, it was not stupid. Moreover, the inherited memories left behind by its parents were not for show. It's not convenient with outsiders around now, Lung Ruoxue said honestly. It doesn't matter. Just say that I'm your contract beast, the little black tiger suggested. Master, I finally found you. Then, The little black tiger pounced into Lung Ruox's arms and rubbed against her affectionately. The excited expression on its face really looked like it had found its long-lost master. Ah, little tiger. Lung Ruoxua couldn't help but break out in cold sweat. She thought to herself, looks like this is also a black-bellied little fellow. Master, I'm tired, the little black tiger said again. Then go into the beast's space to rest. Lung Ruoxua said very cooperatively. This little guy was really too talented in acting. If this was her previous world, it could definitely become a top superstar in the animal world. Then, Lung Ruoxua sent the little black tiger into the bracelet. Please keep reading on MYB0's novel.com, miss. Is that little black cat your contract beast? The old man asked curiously. Even though he knew that he really shouldn't have this curiosity, he couldn't control it. Sort of, Lung Ruoxua said ambiguously. Not long after, the little black tiger's voice sounded in Lung Ruox's heart again. Obviously, the little fellow was very satisfied with its new home and agreed to follow her in the future. Immediately after, Lung Ruoxua moved the little guy out of the bracelet. In an instant, a black lightning jumped onto the cliff. In just a few breaths, the black lightning jumped back into Lung Ruox's arms, and a small tree half the height of a person appeared in its claws. Seeing this, Lung Ruoxua thought for a moment and sent the beast and tree into the bracelet. Ah! When the grandfather and grandson saw this natural scene, they were all a little dumbfounded. Theseuro, what kind of speed was this? Miss Beast was really too powerful. Miss, let's leave this place quickly. Otherwise, when that guardian beast returns and sees that the camphor wood that it has guarded for many years is gone, it will probably fly into a rage, the old man said fearfully. At the same time, he couldn't help but sigh in his heart. It seemed that the camphor wood was indeed fated with this miss. Otherwise, why was the guardian beast not around when she came to retrieve it? Okay, let's leave quickly, Lung Ruoxua said cooperatively. Then, the four of them left with the grandfather and granddaughter. After obtaining the camphor wood, the sky gradually darkened. The old man brought Lung Ruoxua and the others to a safe place to set up a tent. Then he started a fire and started cooking. Miss, just rest. Let us do these chores, the old man said apologetically when he saw Lung Ruoxua and the others attack. It's okay, Lung Ruoxua said indifferently. She could only eat and drink if she did it herself, and she wasn't a piece of trash who would starve just because there was no one to serve her. Moreover, she was a little afraid that the craftsmanship of this grandfather and granddaughter wasn't to her liking. Who asked them to be so picky? That's right. We're used to making it ourselves, Lung Qingtian said. After saying that, he took out a lot of ingredients from his ring and started cooking dinner. Ah! The grandfather and granddaughter looked at the ingredients in front of Lung Ruoxua and the others with widened eyes in disbelief. They secretly wondered why there were so many things in these people's rings. This was really too extravagant. The grandfather and granddaughter were also people who traveled outside all year round. They would also store some food in their storage rings, but it would not be as sumptuous as what Lung Ruoxua had. Moreover, most of them were mainly dry food. However, the ingredients taken out by these people in front of them were all fresh, so their reaction was so big. Don't just stand there. Come and help. Lung Ruoxua looked at the dazed grandfather and granddaughter and urged. In fact, everyone who saw the ingredients they prepared for the first time had the same reaction as this grandfather and granddaughter, so she was already used to it. Oh. Only then did the grandfather and granddaughter react and hurriedly came over to help. Not long after, a sumptuous dinner was ready. Please keep reading on MYB0's novel. The two of them had never been so satisfied to be able to eat hot food in the wild. After the meal, the old and young took the initiative to clean up. Lung Ruoxua scattered some colorless and transparent powder around their tent to prevent any uninvited guests from disturbing them. After greeting the grandfather and granddaughter, Lung Ruoxua and the others went into the tent and rested early. However, resting was naturally an excuse. After entering the tent, Lung Ruoxua brought the three of them into the bracelet. Sister, Qingju appeared in front of Lung Ruoxue and the others and said softly, "What about the two little fellows?" Lung Ruoxue asked with a light smile. Her grandfather and brother were very interested in the two little fellows. In the herb garden, Qingju brought Lung Ruoxue and the others to the herb garden after saying that. In the herb garden, the camphor wood had been replanted, and the little black tiger was lying under the tree. The tree and the beast seemed to be communicating. After sensing Lung Ruoxue and the others' auras, the little black tiger raised its head and looked in their direction. "Master, you're here," the little black tiger greeted. Even though it had yet to recognize its master seemed to have called it. Therefore, it blurted out without thinking, "Yes, is little Chi satisfied with this place?" Lung Ruoxue knew that the two little fellows were in the bracelet, so she could easily sense their emotions. "Thank you, elder sister. I love this place," said the camphorwood happily, shaking its branches excitedly. "That's good." Lung Ruoxue nodded. "Elder sister, these are my gifts to you." With that, pieces of jade-like sparkling leaves flew towards Lung Ruoxue. Chapter 1036. Little Chi, I don't need these leaves now, Lung Ruoxue said helplessly as she looked at the small and exquisite emerald green leaves on her palm. She didn't want little Chi to hurt itself to repay her kindness. Sister, don't worry. Plants follow in natural progression. Besides, I didn't pick these leaves on the spot. I dropped them over the years and gave them all to you now, little Chi explained. Even though it was only a small tree with intelligence now, Lung Ruoxue's words still warmed its heart. When it saw that it wasn't the only sprite here, it was even clearer that its choice wasn't wrong. Elder sister was really a good person. That's good. Little Chi, you have to cultivate hard and strive to transform as soon as possible. This way, you will have more friends, Lung Ruoxue reminded. Yes, I will, little Chi said excitedly. Transformation was the greatest dream of every natural treasure. Now that there was such a good opportunity, it naturally didn't want to miss it. Little Chi, do you know where the black star grass is in the dark canyon? Lung Ruoxue asked expectantly. I'm sorry, sister, I'm not sure, little Chi said sheepishly. He felt bad that he couldn't help his sister. It's okay. Does little tiger know? Lung Ruoxue looked at the little black tiger again. I only know little Chi, the little black tiger said honestly. Basically, there would be guardian beasts beside the natural treasures that were discovered. Therefore, once they discovered something good, they would not leave easily. Naturally, they would not have the chance to come into contact with other things. Moreover, the black star grass was poisonous, and it did not like it. Oh! It seemed that they had to continue walking in. Lung Ruoxue thought helplessly. Little Chi, little tiger, they're my grandfather and brother. Lung Ruoxue only remembered that she hadn't introduced them when she accidentally saw her grandfather and brother's interested gazes. Please keep reading on myb0snovel.com. He's my fiancé. Lung Ruoxue pointed at the freak again. Hello, little fellows. Lung Qingtian greeted them with a smile. Hello, Grandpa Stupid, little Chi said with a chuckle. Lung Qingtian was depressed again when he heard this title. Oh, why did this little guy only know how to bully him? Previously, he teased him, and now he called him Grandpa Stupid. Lung Ruoxue couldn't help but laugh when she saw Lung Qingshan's expression. However, in the next second, she dragged the freak away to prevent her grandfather from flying off the handle. Bad girl. You even dare to tease your own grandfather. Lung Qing couldn't help complaining as he looked at Lung Ruoxue's back. However, his granddaughter wasn't around, so he could only turn his resentful gaze to his grandson. Grandpa, I'm not laughing at you, Lung Ruhan hurriedly said. In fact, he was secretly laughing in his heart. With that, he did not dare to stay any longer and slipped away. Seeing that his grandson had disappeared, Lung Qingtian couldn't help but stomp his feet in anger. Oh, what a heartless little baddie. All he knew was to bully his grandfather. Little Chi, who felt Lung Qingshan's childish thoughts, couldn't help but chuckle. Little bad tree, it's all your fault, Lung Qingtian said with slight dissatisfaction. Just like that, the man and the tree kept communicating. The next day, Lung Ruoxue and the others left the tent and saw that the grandfather and granddaughter had already prepared breakfast. "Miss, you can eat now," the old man quickly said when he saw Lung Ruoxue and the others come out. "Oh, it smells so good. Your cooking is really good." Lung Qingtian couldn't help but praise after smelling the fragrance of the food. "It's not that. It's just that Miss ingredients are good. Otherwise, she wouldn't be able to make such good-tasting food," the old man said humbly. Yesterday, after Miss and the others compensated him for his culinary skills, they handed the task of cooking to him and even prepared ingredients for him. Otherwise, he really wouldn't be able to make such a delicious meal. Please keep reading on myb0novel.com. Don't be humble. Your skills are indeed not bad, Lung Ruoxue said with certainty. Thank you for your praise. Mississippi, hurry up and eat. It won't taste good if it's cold, the old man urged. Okay. Lung Ruoxue and the others nodded and sat down at the dining table. After breakfast, they cleaned up briefly and continued on their way. After walking around the dark Grand Canyon for 2 days, Lung Ruoxue and the others led the way and found a few more valuable herbs. However, the black star grass she wanted to find was nowhere to be found. "Miss, it's even more dangerous to go any further, so I suggest you don't go," the old man couldn't help but advise as they stood at the entrance of a narrow passageway. "What's inside?" Lung Ruoxue asked curiously. "That's the deepest part of the dark Grand Canyon. Besides, I don't think there's the black star grass that Miss and the others are looking for," the old man said. However, even though he said that, he was actually not very sure if there was black star grass inside. "You been in there?" Lung Ruoxue asked calmly. With the old man's cautiousness, she didn't think he had been in there. "No, I'm too weak to enter," the old man said honestly. "But I want to go in and take a look. Otherwise, I won't give up," Lung Ruoxue said stubbornly. "If you don't want to go in, I won't force you. I can pay you the reward now. Also, thank you for leading the way for the past few days," Lung Ruoxue said. "We're guides. Since we brought you in, we naturally have to bring you out safely. Therefore, we can't leave you here. Otherwise, if word gets out, how will we be able to raise our heads in the future? Forget it, they'll accompany you in. However, you have to be careful inside. I heard from our ancestors that the danger there is 100 times greater than outside," the old man reminded. "Okay, then let's go in," Lung Ruoxue said with a smile. She really didn't misjudge him. "All right," the old man replied. Then he walked ahead to scout the way. This path was abnormally narrow. Only one person could walk on it at a time. So the old man walked at the front while Lung Ruhan and Lung Qingtian followed closely behind. Lung Ruoxue and the freak walked at the back. The young man originally wanted to walk behind, but Lung Ruoxue rejected him. She had many life-saving methods, so she naturally couldn't let a young man who hadn't undergone energy conversion walk behind to protect them. You're tuning into the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.